To have a friend, everybody wants one in the end.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. I am Captain Logan. Joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello there.
What is happening, sir?
Oh, not much, man, not much. I mean, I had a newborn.
But other than that, yeah, congratulations, man. We were just talking about that before. Yes, I knew things were going on with DJ. It was just my normal stock introduction. Okay, DJ, it's time for you to say a couple of quick things. You're like a contestant on a game show. Why don't you tell us a few things about yourself before we move on?
2 truths and a lie. I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible at that game, by the way. We need to play that one day because I need to get better at it. I wasn't
thinking that. I was thinking like when Pat Sajak walks up to you and he's just like, tell us something about yourself before we play this game. No one actually cares about you, but pretend like they do. And then somebody's like, well, I got 3 cats and I'm married and I drive a station wagon. And then you're like, yeah, nobody cares about that. You just move on. They could get a whole nother puzzle in if they would just not bother with, and like on Jeopardy, it'll sometimes be interesting because Alex Trebek actually like has people research, you know, because it's like a research show. So at the same time as they're researching for questions, they're also researching the people who come on, and so they'll have some amusing anecdote that they've like interviewed from beforehand. But Wheel of Fortune, it's just why don't you tell us something amusing about yourself? Well, I like to wear flip-flops all day long. Okay, and then you just move on to the next person.
Yeah, at least on Family Feud, Steve Harvey will make fun of whatever you say, so that's great. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, and Family Feud, no matter who the host was, going all the way back, they like to spend like 10 minutes on that stuff.
Yeah, just rambling in the beginning.
You forget you're even watching a game show. Then everybody's like, let's play the feud! And you're like, oh, that's right, I'm watching a game show and not listening to a podcast with random nobodies. Anyway,
somehow it's entertaining.
How is everybody? Welcome if you're watching live. Welcome after the fact if you're doing that as well. It is a Tuesday. We're doing an extra Captain Logan show this week, partly because we like to sneak these in, extra ones every now and again, and we did a commentary last week, so we thought we'd do an Ask Me Anything show tonight, and also because we have a big special announcement that we're going to put right at the end of the show, because if we put it at the beginning, some of you guys might not stick around. So we're gonna put. I'm just kidding. So we're gonna put it at the end, and hopefully it is a cool enough announcement that it's worth it. But we'll make the show as exciting as possible. And of course, if you're watching this pre-recorded, you could just jump to the end. I want to mention something very quickly about timestamps. My schedule lately has been such where it's been really difficult to work in sitting down and going back and looking at some of the video and getting the timestamps in. That is weirdly time consuming, and I was really consistent with it for a while, but it was making it difficult for me to get other ththings done. And so, you might notice on the last show, I got the timestamps all the way up to like the first hour, and I just have not had time to go back and finish it. So, I'm gonna try to figure out a way to keep those going, but I don't know. If anybody is interested in volunteering to help me with that, I'll try to think of something cool to do for you. I could use some help with that. It's just a thing that I'm not having time to do. DJ is also busy. I can't put another thing on his plate. Obviously, he just had a second child, but also he's doing logos for me. He's modding these shows. I don't want to ask DJ to do that either. Like I said, it's kind of time consuming. So I'm gonna attempt to figure out a way to keep that going. I know people really like the timestamps because you never know what random topics we're gonna cover during a show, and that makes it easier to have this big hour, 2 hour or longer sometimes program without segmenting it up and putting up different videos, which we used to do and we don't do anymore. So anyway, I digress. That's a thing that I'm trying to figure out. So if anybody is interested in helping me out with that, I will just send me a private message either on Patreon if you're there or on Facebook, and I could use the assistance. So anyway, DJ, why don't we just go ahead and jump right into questions tonight? It's an Ask Me Anything show. I don't have a lead-in story for this evening because I want to just get right to whatever you guys want to talk about. So go right ahead, man. What have we got?
We got tons. So first, the first regular or pre-written regular chat question I saw was, which franchise do you like better, Terminator or Robocop? That's from Kellen O'Rourke.
Wow, that's a great question, and obviously thematically about some of the same things, but interestingly, not as much with Robocop about AI taking over, but rather the what makes a man question, and that is the theme in both of those things that I latch on to the most. They're both also, I mean, I guess Robocop is much more satirical than Terminator and maybe doesn't take itself as seriously, but those are things that people have for years wanted to see kind of take place in the same world. We like to cross those a lot in comics and video games and things. I have a hard time answering that. It is kind of neck and neck for me. Like, I don't know, man. Like, gun to my head, I guess I would say... As a franchise, Terminator, because there are technically there's more good material there, I guess. Although I've not seen all the Robocop movies, but I mean, the second one is interesting and fun, but it's not a good movie, I don't think, overall. And Terminator has 2 really solid entries, and yeah, it's fallen apart, and there's a lot more of them, and the later stuff's not good. Robocop had a couple of TV shows I never saw. Some people say nice things about one of those, but I don't know if there's anything there worth watching. The remake is, I think, really dull. One of the dullest things ever. So, Robocop has a masterpiece, Terminator has 2 masterpieces, or a masterpiece and a thing that's really close in that first movie, and then Robocop has 1 satirical masterpiece. So I guess just on...
yeah, since he said franchise, I guess you got to go.
Yeah, like just on numbers, I'm gonna have to say Terminator, I guess. But if you take Robocop, if you take the best of them, you take Robocop and Terminator 2 and put them up against each other, I cannot pick. That is impossible.
Yeah. Cool.
Great question.
Blue Dragon 5.
Yeah.
Next up. Cat.
Welcome back, man. He is always the first person here.
Yeah, he's always like, "Hey guys," like before I even get in, and it's just like him and Kellen O'Rourke.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Cap
What's up?
He saw an amazing doc called "Happy Happy Joy Joy: The Ren Stimpy Story."
Yeah.
I pose a question from the doc: in today's society, is redemption possible for someone after doing a bad thing? Oh, that's a John Ty question, right here.
Goodness, yeah, that went in a completely different direction than I expected. And that could have been anything, too. It was like, I watched this documentary on the invention of the waffle, and I was just curious, do you think... I'll pose a question they posed. Is it possible to be redeemed in these days if you've done something bad? Okay, so, First of all, I want to go back to the Ren and Stimpy thing. I love how everything starts with animation with him, no matter what it is.
Always, yeah.
Ren and Stimpy is a thing that I saw a little bit of when I was a kid, and it kind of creeped me out, and I didn't appreciate the satire of that whole thing, and I've always meant to go back to it. I didn't know there was a documentary, so I'm curious to take a look at that.
Is that the, kangaroo or the wallaby and the warthog?
Mm-hmm. That was the thing that really put Nickelodeon on the map for adults in the 90s. It was that, and Daria wasn't them. That was Comedy Central, right? But they had like Rocko's Modern Life and some other things like that. Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Cat Dog. All those weird shows from the 90s. But anyway, can anyone be redeemed?
I mean, the short answer is yes. I mean, it's feeling, we've had this question kind of posed in different ways recently, people wanting me to talk about cancel culture and that kind of thing. That is what I want to call kind of an extreme minority that seems to have taken hold, and obviously Hollywood is responding to it in a big way, where a lot of things are being changed because they're afraid of cancel culture. I believe, this is just my opinion, but just my perspective is, it seems like there's this big fear that if we don't toe a certain line, we're not going to be able to make money with things because the producers and writers and actors involved in the things we're making are going to be blacklisted, and it's going to mess with our stuff. So, I mean, I think all of this is a matter of trying to uphold the bottom line, just like most things in big businesses, right? And so that I think is creating a perspective that the business end of this, and not just with Hollywood, obviously other businesses too, is creating this perspective that on the whole, as a society, we are saying there are no second chances for anyone. By the way, I brought this up a few weeks, or I didn't bring this up. John Ty or somebody, I think it was John Ty, brought this up a few weeks ago, and I got a lot of not a lot, but I got a couple comments that I think weren't quite getting what I was talking about, and because I made that case, I said it feels like the perspective is with cancel culture that there are no second chances. That like once you've done something illegal or not, that is considered against what is generally accepted, especially if it appears racist or sexist or bigoted in some way, even if that wasn't the person's intent at all, and they didn't mean that, or they didn't understand that they were coming off that way, you get the sense that people are not going to allow those people to exist in public, like in public forums as much as humanly possible. I had some people who left comments thinking that I was talking about people like Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein. And that is not what I was talking about. There were some people who said, "Oh, do you think those people need second chances?" In some ways, cancel culture is a good thing. I don't think of that as cancel culture. I think of that as people doing heinous, horrible, and often illegal things in society not accepting that. That's different to me. So anyway,
arrested and put in jail. That's not.
So yeah, Bill Cosby. So I just wanted to mention that when I say sometimes it feels like we're not allowing for second chances anymore, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about somebody that puts up a joke, racist or sexist or some kind of joke 10 years ago, and is said now gets fired now or isn't allowed to work in the business they work anymore. I don't know that that's fair. If they keep doing, if you really need an apology from them, I guess I kind of get that. But I don't understand. You said a thing we don't like a million years ago, and now you're done. I don't think that's how we should be as a society. I think that's terrible, and that's really. I don't want to say narrow-minded, I guess, but it's just not very. I don't know. It's not very compassionate. It's not really giving people a chance for redemption. But I think. That is the extreme minority that is unfortunately getting some traction and changing some things. I don't think that's going to last forever. I think we saw a lot of this 4 years ago with all of the vitriol surrounding people not wanting to go to Ghostbusters, right? And this idea that if you didn't want to see that movie or you thought that movie was bad after it came out, you were a sexist person. And there were lots of reasons not to like that movie. It didn't necessarily make you sexist because you didn't... And even if you didn't want to see that movie because it wasn't canon, because it wasn't in that same universe. Like, a lot of people just weren't interested in that. It wasn't just, it's for girls. It was, it's not in that world. I don't care. And, anybody that was actually, just straight up saying, well, I don't want to see action movies with girls because those are supposed to be with men, yeah, I guess it's a problem. I don't remember anybody saying that. And so anyway, I think a lot of that has kind of subsided already. 4 years later, we're seeing that Hollywood was trying to go that way, and it hasn't been working. And we've seen other projects like that fail, where they just try to lean on some kind of like political ideal or something, and try to preach to a choir, and then not a lot of people go because it doesn't resonate with anybody, or it's just not what anybody wanted in the first place. And so it's. So I think we've already maybe made a little bit of progress getting away from some of that. Hopefully, I'd like to think that. So by and large, I'm going to say yes, people can be redeemed. It's just it's easy to get the perspective that they can't because of a vocal minority that has taken hold in some places. I don't think that lasts forever.
Yeah. Well, good grief! Is this after dark already? Is this Thursday?
It feels like it. And I went farther on that than at one time I probably would have, but this is becoming a thing people are really worried about and afraid of.
Yeah,
and
no,
I
it's
don't know how to not just speak my mind on it. And so I'm just going to speak my mind on it. And if people don't like what I have to say about it, then I understand, and you don't have to watch the channel. I mean, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it, as honest and as open-minded as I can possibly be. But that's how I feel about it.
That's what this show is. Your opinion. So, Rockman LP dropped us a early super chat. Thanks, Rockman. Please tell us about several of your most, and this one's confusing.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Warning. Please tell us about several of your most influential literature/novel authors where you went and read a bunch of their work.
Wow. I have not done enough of that. Is the thing. I tend to latch on to a piece of work and then move on to something else. It really wasn't until I was getting into mainstream comics that I ever thought to really follow authors much, which I know sounds kind of weird. It's the sort of thing where, and I've never, as much as I preach that if you're going to be a writer, you need to read a lot, I've never been happy with my reading allotment. I read slower than I wish I did. I tend to fall asleep when I read. It takes me a long time to get through a book. And I read as much as I can. I like to think I kind of read a lot, but I don't get through books as quickly as I ought to. So I don't mean to answer this with an excuse, but I don't have a ton of those. There's nobody I've sat down and read an entire catalog of, which, I've always kind of meant to do. I tend to reread things that really influence me a whole lot. So obviously, one of my first major literary loves and the biggest influence on me as a sci-fi writer is Douglas Adams, with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I have tried a couple of Adams' other books outside of the Hitchhiker books. I've only read, I think, the first two entirely of those. No, three. I have read Past Restaurant, but it's been a long time. And then there was what is it? Hotel. God, I can't remember the name of it right now. But there's that. It got turned into a Hulu show or something a couple of years ago, and I read some of that and couldn't really get. I read like 100 pages and I just couldn't get into it. It was too much about colleges in Britain, and I didn't know enough about that subject, and I just didn't feel like if you were uninitiated, it was very easy to get into. But Douglas Adams is a big one for me, and then there is. Let me think. You blindsided me with this.
I knew it was going to be a doozy.
The author, I just don't know why things aren't coming to my brain right now. The author of 2001, one of my favorite science fiction books is Childhood's End. I have read a couple other things from him, but not enough. Heinlein, I've read a little bit of, but not enough. I've probably read, sheer number of books, like more Stephen King than anything, and I'm not a big Stephen King guy, but I've always said this, I think his science fiction is better than his horror, and I wish he did more of it, more of his straight up kind of classic science fiction that he tended to write under a different name. And let me think. This is funny. I love the original, or the first book in the Tech War series, and I just recently got my hands on all of Tech War, so I might finally sit down and read through that. It is ghost written, so William Shatner's name is on it, but I've never had a good sense of how much Shatner actually had to do with that. Because it's ghost written, and it's famously ghost written. So anyway, those are a few things in specifically the science fiction department.
Yeah, I'll say a few.
Arthur C. Clarke, thank you.
I don't do like a ton of like investing in one single author like you. I kind of just jump around to like the bigger hits. But I did it early on, or like early college years with Burroughs. I read a lot of the Tarzans and the. Oh,
interesting. Yeah.
And the John Carters. Not everything, obviously, because the man wrote like thousands of books. But I did that. I really like.
I think Vince has read some of them.
Wells. I did a lot with Wells. I read a lot of all of Wells's big classic ones. And then Robert Louis Stevenson, he didn't just write Treasure Planet and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He did write a lot of other books. I actually wrote a lot of his stuff because I had like.
Well, he didn't write Treasure Planet. He wrote Treasure Island, of which Treasure Planet. That was.
No, he came back and wrote the movie.
That was one of the first books that I read cover to cover when I was a kid.
Oh, Treasure Island, awesome.
I love Treasure Island.
That's a good one.
It's wonderful.
And I've read a lot of Kidnapped, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I read a lot. His short stories are really good. He's got like a huge, diverse catalog of short stories. But the weirdest one for me is I really love John Steinbeck.
Oh, interesting.
Not science fiction or fantasy at all. He just writes these really sad stories about these like lower class people that are like just have it so rough and they can't get ahead in life. It's really depressing. But I've been reading a lot of his stuff, even lately. I think I'm reading Canary Row right now.
Oh, interesting. I should try some of that. I've never read him.
Yeah, Grapes of Wrath. I mean, Of Mice and Men. I don't know if you've read that. That's like one of my favorite books ever.
Yeah, okay. Outside of stuff for school, I've never read him. I did have. I've never read Grapes of Wrath, but yes, I did have to read that in school, of course.
The Pearl is. I just read that a little while ago, and it's the depressing ending I've ever heard, and I don't know if you should
It's
read
been
it.
a million years.
I
used to be a big fan of Dante's Inferno. And of course I love the Homer epics, but I mean it's been a good long time. Okay, so and like we're not obviously getting into comics and stuff, but just as far as literature goes, there's a few things. So Bob Kane is a fraud just left a related question, which I want to answer real quick. He asked what I want to see from the upcoming Hitchhiker show, which I wanted to mention just in case people hadn't heard about that. I just found out about that a week ago, that Disney is going to make a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy show, I believe, for Disney Plus. And that is a fascinating development. The big thing for me is, and I'm sure they'll do this, is I want them to go at least through restaurant, because the saddest thing about the movie, which I liked okay, I mean, it's, more truncated than I'd like, but has to be a film. I mean, that's one of those things that's kind of unfilmable, because it's barely literature, or at least it's barely, not literature, but it's barely like a traditional novel in the first place. Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy, if you don't know, starts as a radio play, and it's much better in that form. To this day, the best version of that, the best iteration of it, is still the original radio play from the late 70s. And the book is taking that material and trying to kind of force it into a literary mode, and it ends up getting interrupted a whole lot by just amusing anecdotes from the book, from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And a lot of those are the best parts, but it ends up not feeling like a real standard, like I said, traditional narrative where you just get interrupted constantly. It doesn't feel as character driven as you'd like it to. Like, those characters are fun and interesting, and the longer the series goes, the more drawn some of them become. But it's real meandery. It just kind of jumps around a lot, and you kind of forget that, oh, that's right. Like, sort of like Moby Dick, except less boring. You're just like, oh, that's right, I'm reading a novel, and there's like a story. It kind of messes with the sense of rising action, I guess, is what I'm saying. And so anyway, the radio play gets through Restaurant at the End of the Universe, and initially, if that's all you listen to, you wouldn't realize that that's actually two books, and that the end of that is going to the restaurant and the adventures that happen there, and then. In the book, it's actually split, and so the movie back in 2005 had to only do that first book, and then at the very end they go, oh, let's go to the restaurant, and then they're apparently going there, but they never made a sequel because it didn't do well enough, and so now we're gonna go back to miniseries mode, which is what the BBC did back in, I think, the early 80s with it, and it was real low budget, didn't have a lot of money kind of show. Famously, Zaphod Beeblebrox had a animatronic head that didn't work right, and so the whole time it's on screen, they left it, but like it's like mouth will move occasionally, but like it looks real pathetic and sad, and it'll just be like, ah. And it ends up being hilarious, like if you actually watch it. But
I mean, just you describing it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of great. It's worth watching, but Except Trillian is obnoxious. I hate that voice. I didn't like her voice in the radio show either, and it's a similar voice. I don't know if it's the same actress, but oh god, it's annoying. But anyway, so I don't know. So I guess my big things are I want to see it go at least to the restaurant again, and do that on a bigger budget. I'd love to see it be, you know, as faithful as it can be. Get some of those great lines and great anecdotes that didn't make the movie back in it, and not go as much its own way. And I want it to look completely different from anything we've had already, because I think that's a thing that you can keep reinventing. Like there's not really a standard look for Hitchhiker. I think what we did with that movie was fine. And like the biggest departure, the thing that I think people were most surprised by is what Marvin looked like. And I like Marvin's look in that. But I would love to see them reinvent it from the ground up and do something even a whole lot different with it. And, you know, there is obviously some kind of science fiction parody of everything in there. There's a little bit of Star Wars, there's a little bit of Star Trek, there's a little bit of everything. There's quite a bit of Doctor Who, because Douglas Adams also wrote Doctor Who, and some of Doctor Who. And I always felt like those two things could have easily been in the same universe. But I don't want to see too much of it turn into too much of a visual parody thing, unless it's just like a real nice mix of everything. So I don't know. My biggest thing is I hope that has a really unique, totally different, kind of eclectic look, and it needs to be really, really bright and colorful. I hope they don't attempt to do like a dark Hitchhiker, but it being Disney Plus, I doubt that that's what'll happen with it.
All right, so per usual, we are 30 minutes in and we have 2 questions answered.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I love that. We should do a show about literature at some point, because I really like talking about that.
People are asking me things of which I am quite passionate about. Go ahead.
Yeah. Simple and quick today. Have you guys decided if you are going to review Peacock's Big Fat Liar? What? Okay, he didn't use any punctuation. He said, are you going to review Peacock? And then he says, Big Fat Liar is on premium, which is what we talked about during Clock Stoppers the other day. You guys are awesome, and congrats on the fillet, DJ. He's calling my daughter fillet. I don't know what he means by that. He's been doing that for like a week now. That's like I guess it's a welder pun. I don't know anything about welding, so.
Oh, okay. That's going right over my head. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or does that mean like little kid or offspring in some other language? Like.
I don't know.
I don't know what
you
it means.
You have to explain, Tom. I don't know what a fillet is with 2 T's.
Yeah. Because then it's not a fillet, and that's good. You don't want your daughter described as a fillet. That gets kind of weird.
Please.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna do Peacock.
I wish I hadn't said it out loud.
But it's kind of came and went, and
no one's talking about it. We still could. We just didn't get around to it. I was out of town when that. Like I was at a farm for a week when you sent me a message and said we should do Peacock, and I'm like, well, maybe when I get back, and then we just didn't get to it. So I don't know. Is that service free, or do you have to pay for that? Somebody told me it was free.
It is free. I have the app, but there's like stuff you have to pay for on there, but you get a good bit of stuff for free. It's pretty cool. And I don't know, I think it's cool that a streaming service is doing it that way, where it's like you can watch stuff for free and then get you in the door, and then there's some stuff on there that if you go premium you can watch. There's like a free stage, a premium stage, and then like a premium plus or whatever it's called that's like no ads. But,
weird. Yeah, and I get that. Like Hulu's done that for a long time. But it seems like in the early days we did that kind of thing where, Hulu had, I don't know if it still does, used to have a free version where there were some things you could watch. But that seems like something of an outdated model to me. But I don't know. I haven't looked at it at all. I have no idea what's on it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm interested in is watching the Psych 2 movie. Because I watched everything else that Psych made, so I guess I have to watch. And it's exclusive to that streaming service.
Oh, cool. Did they just make that? Is it like a reunion thing?
It was a launch title, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun for you.
Yeah, we're going to check it out.
Never watched past that pilot, so.
Yeah, you got to watch some good episodes. I'm going to get you. We should do that one of these days. There's some comic-related episodes. Like there's one that takes place at a con, and like George Takei is in it.
I think you told me about that, yeah. That's awesome.
He says, so he clarifies in a current super chat, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit. He says, felt with 1 T is a type of weld. He added a second T because it's a girl. So yeah, whoosh. Okay. I mean,
you do realize that if you hadn't explained that, I don't think anybody would have ever figured that out.
Yeah, I'm not a real welder. I just play one in a movie, so.
that one time.
William Parcell.
For 13 seconds.
Exactly.
In the background.
It was a crash course, and I probably forgot how to do everything. William Parcell, do you think it's near impossible to make a long ongoing story about time travel, since time travel already a volatile element that can quickly break?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, of course
easy.
that's hard. Yeah, absolutely. Is it impossible? No. And obviously there have been really good seasons of Doctor Who. It's easier to do it when you have that conceit of... Well, it depends on what you're doing, okay? So if it's a series where you're jumping around to a bunch of different times all the time, and when you go back in time, you can change things, it's really difficult for that not to turn really convoluted, where we actually buy that you're able to preserve a timeline and not mess up everything with butterfly effect. Really hard to make us buy that. Star Trek ends up doing so much time travel and never had a show that was just time travel, but ends up doing so much of it that you never end up buying that. My favorite examples to go back to are DJ and First Contact. We go back in time to the spoiler alert, but the First Contact with the Vulcans that eventually gets us to the Star Trek future, and just after World War III, and the very first thing that happens is a bunch of guys in the silo where Zephyr Cochrane is building his warp ship get killed that didn't get killed before. How does that not completely change the future? It's the first thing that happens. And there's a lot of that in Star Trek, where we go like I don't know how when we just bringing back 2 humpback whales in Star Trek 4 to the future doesn't irrevocably or like irreversibly change the timeline. But does it? It's just, and then you could always say, okay, but from the perspective of the people who went back in time when they came into the future or back to the future, well, no, because their minds aren't altered at all. So they would get back and they would notice differences. If they could be changed, then they'd never know. But they and we, the audience, would notice the difference. So yeah, no, it gets really sticky. I mean, you get shows, of course, and I mean, call this a pot shot, but you get shows, of course, like Legends of Tomorrow, which mess this up by the 2nd or 3rd episode, and then they go seasons and seasons in, and you're just like, I don't understand how you haven't completely ruined the whole universe. And then they have that dumb idea that, well, it takes time for time to change, which immediately exploded my brain the first time I heard it, and I cannot stop complaining about it, where it's like, okay, but time is relative, right? So from wherever you are in the timeline, you change something, and then you have so much time. Apparently, they never know how much time, by the way, conveniently, so that it's whatever the script needs it to be, right? Wherever you are, you always have conveniently enough time to fix the timeline before it catches up to your present. Okay. Most ongoing time travel stories have this kind of a problem. So yes, of course, it's super difficult. I don't think you can do more than a season of a time travel thing before it becomes, especially that kind of a time travel thing, before it becomes really hard not to get ultra super convoluted. Like at one time, years ago, I wanted to see Star Trek do a time fleet show, the 29th Century Time Fleet that we get in a couple episodes of Voyager. And there's an episode called Relativity that ends up just being a really silly cartoon. Like, it's a fun episode to watch, but it's so goofy. It's just this ship. I don't know why it needs to be space-worthy. It's this ship. It's in space, right? And it's constantly monitoring the timeline, and anytime anything gets kind of messed up in the timeline, they send somebody back to fix it. But the stuff that they do would mess with the future, and I don't understand how they're able to. So I don't know. So much of that kind of thing just has me saying, I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm in the same place right now because Umbrella Academy. I'm 3 episodes away from finishing the 2nd season of Umbrella Academy, and it has a lot of time travel too. The first season they kept it pretty simple, but then the 2nd season it's gotten a lot more complicated. And I don't know. Time travel always breaks my brain whenever I try to think about it. So I prefer you just keep it simple, or
yeah,
I don't know. It's
and I'm not of the opinion that you should never do it. I don't feel like it's always a crutch. I think that it can be a really good conceit, just like anything. A man that can fly without any visible means of propulsion is also a conceit, right? You don't want to think too much about that. At the point where it starts breaking its own rules, though, that's when it becomes a big giant problem. So the trick to good time travel stories is to make it not just about the mythology of the time travel. If the whole thing is about how does this work, and like I want it to have rules and I want it to be interesting, but at the end of the day, the best time travel stories are character-driven stories, and I think for the most part, the best stories are character-driven stories. But time travel is not a place to make it all about the mechanics. You can do that more with a space opera. Right, it was like how exactly do the engines function, and how do we go faster than light, and how do we get from this place to this place, and all the different pieces of technology. That's all stuff that you can explain enough that we buy that it actually, and there aren't inherent paradoxes with just space travel, right? Same thing with magic. I mean, obviously magic is a conceit. You want there to be rules. You want to be consistent with it so that it doesn't feel like the script can just make up whatever it wants to scene to make stuff happen. But with time travel especially, the best stories, and of course we saw this with Back to the Future, are when it's about a character who has some sort of an opportunity for change through doing the time travel. One of my favorite stories now is for time travel is 11/22/63, the JFK assassination novel from Stephen King, which is a delightful romance. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. It's about a man who goes back in time and finds his soulmate in the past, and weirdly also how so many of the best time travel stories end up being love stories. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I prefer when it's just a conceit to get characters to do things that makes me care about them and stuff like that. In the first season of Umbrella Academy, weird that you say that because the Kennedy assassination is a big thing in those two seasons as well. But the first season, it was more like just a conceit to get these people together, and they didn't really talk about it that much. But in the second season, it's becoming a much bigger deal. So I don't know. We'll see how it ends. I still have 3 episodes left.
That's another big, giant, dynamic question that we could spend a whole lot more time with. I'm seeing a lot of comments I'd love to piggyback off of, but that could be an entire show, and we have a bunch of super chats. So, boy, I hate to move on because I'm liking some of these questions. People want us to talk about T2 and Endgame and Somewhere in Time. We just don't have time to do all that. So, go ahead, DJ.
All right, well, the next one probably isn't going to be much better.
Real quick. Somebody did bring up Dark. Is that a time travel show? Because people keep telling me I need to watch that. And
someone said it was the best time travel show they've seen.
Well, that makes me way more interested in seeing it because I didn't know what kind of show it was. Not to say that I'm just this huge, giant time travel fan.
Well, it's like the worst title ever. It's the most nondescriptive. It probably makes perfect sense when you watch it, but
it's pretty
if you don't know anything about it, it's just like dark.
You know what ultimately ends up being one of the goofiest time travel shows? Which you wouldn't have thought this until you get to the place where it's so insanely goofy. Remember when Lost was a science fiction show and then it suddenly turned into a giant fantasy show? You remember how time travel happens by a pendulum, by a huge pendulum that swings back and forth? Remember that?
That sucks because that first time travel episode with Desmond is awesome.
It's awesome.
Well, let's not get back there. We'll be back in February or whenever we did the pilot for that.
It is,
and we'll talk about that forever.
It's kind of in the front of my brain right now because Jason and I are watching through it because he wanted to see it.
Oh, awesome.
And so we've been watching that. We've been getting up in the morning and watching that day to day, and we're already midway into season 2. Oh, I forgot how much I don't like Anna Lucia.
She's the worst. I can't even watch that actress in any other movie because of that.
I know.
Like, I don't usually have that, but
she's a good actress too. But I don't like her and stuff.
That show ruined her.
All right. Anyway, let's blow through some super chats if we can. I should never say that.
The next one is a $20 super chat
wow,
from William
thank you.
Parcells. This will probably be another one. When adapting a novel/comic to film, if while it's being made and they find that it's okay, hold on. When adapting a novel/comic to film, if while it's being made and they find that it is very different from the source, should they change title and character names and cut ties from the original if it's an option?
Wow, that's hard. So the easy kind of cynical answer is, well, no, because I mean, from an executive's point of view, much of the time, that ends up happening with things that got bought because of a title, or at least partly because of a title. Now, that's not always the case, because there are some things that the title will, even though it is an adaptation from a book or something, it will actually get changed because they think it'll sell better. And in that case, if it's very much different, there may be no reason not to change character names, and names of other things in the thing to separate it apart and say this isn't the same thing. But when you make a thing because of name recognition in the first place, you certainly can't expect that. Now, you hate to see a thing get horribly compromised, and you hate a studio to get their mitts on something and go, well, this was popular enough to adapt it, or this was an idea that we thought would sell well enough, would resonate with enough people in trailers that they would go see the thing, but ultimately we're too scared of how sophisticated the material is, or how much it's pushing envelopes, or how not going with the grain or plugging in for a formula it is, so we've got to make it really safe and totally different. And I hear you. I can see why you would feel like at that point just say it's something else. Once it gets too far away from the spirit of a thing, there is a part of me that when you get to the end of Man of Steel would love that movie to not have the name Superman in it. I don't entirely feel that way, but I get why people like Mark Waid did, and I have that to some degree. You get to certain places in the movie and you go, well, Superman wouldn't do that, especially BVS, Batman versus somebody else. But realistically, that's not going to happen. And so I have a hard time getting worked up about, the fact that something is falsely presenting itself as something that I loved that isn't enough of that. And more, how come you just didn't make it the thing that it is? If it gets because if it gets compromised enough, so. And this may just be me. If a thing gets compromised enough, I don't care what it's called, because it sucks anyway. You know what I mean? Like usually if something is watered down enough, it doesn't matter if it's called something else, it's still not good. Now, I guess the argument against that would be, but people now think that's what it is. Like Wrinkle in Time. That movie is terrible. And anybody that sees that movie and didn't read the books is likely to think that that's what the books are. And they're wonderfully thoughtful and thought-provoking and whimsical, and everything that movie is not. And so it does suck that people saw that and thought that that's what those books were. However, most things that watered down also don't perform well. Sometimes they do, but much of the time they don't. So is it that big of a deal that Dark Tower is called Dark Tower? No, it made $5. Nobody saw it. So people don't think that that's Stephen King's novel. Nobody went and saw that movie. But on the other hand, sometimes you'll have things that will get changed dramatically and are still quite good, and are maybe even not entirely in the spirit of the thing, but because, and even if it's something that I love, because I like it, it's difficult for me to want it to be called something else, because I start to just think, okay, so it's all case by case, right? But I'm thinking of things like Constantine from the movie from 2005 again. We're going back to 2005 a lot tonight. Constantine is not really John Constantine from the comics, and yet it's a decent movie, and I wouldn't, enough of the iconography and the spirit is there that I wouldn't want it to be called something else just because it's enough different from the source material. So yeah, it's a tough call. How do you feel about that, DJ?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say that. I think Eric said that a lot, where it's like, it's not even remotely resembling it. Why don't you just make your own thing? But yeah, you got to take the commercial nature of film into account. That's a lot of the time the whole reason the thing gets made in the first place is because they need a big name. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, why would you take it? Why would you go for something and then not make what it is? I don't know.
Most of the time, that's not originally the intent. It usually happens in the middle of. It usually happens at the script phase, right? So, like, a studio will option a thing and then get somebody to write it that ends up really loving the thing and makes it very authentic. And then it goes through rewrites, and the studio starts getting afraid of it being, again, very often too sophisticated and stuff, and they start watering it down and messing with it. And so to say, why didn't they just start with their own thing in the first place? is to say that that entire model obviously needs changing. If you're going to adapt, adapt. And so maybe that's what Eric and people that feel that way are saying is, well, then just don't option stuff.
Yeah.
In the first place.
You need that name recognition. Even though all the people that they're going to bring in with the name recognition are going to want it to be what it is, and then it's not what it is. Dave Atkins. Oh, that was from William Parcell, by the way. He said, sorry for the typos. He is on a phone.
No problem. Man, I have that problem. So I just got a new update on my phone, and I'm always leery of those because they usually mess up something where my phone doesn't operate the way it used to. Like, sometimes there's improvements, and very often it's just, well, this did everything I wanted it to yesterday, and now it's compromised. You know, like some of the film scripts we're talking about. And what ended up happening this time, DJ, I'd never seen before, which is it changed the keyboard. Just, it seems like I thought at first all it did was it slightly changed the aesthetics of what the keyboard looks like, right? It changed all of my autocorrect. So my phone no longer, I've had this phone for like a year and a half, and it no longer remembers the things I tend to type. So, and I have a what is this model? This is a a Galaxy S9? Yeah, it's a Galaxy S9. This phone, it has that thing, DJ, where you can run your finger across letters. I don't know if you've ever had a phone that does that. Instead of having to type each separate letter, you can run it across. And most of the words that I try to do that with now come out entirely different. Like, if I try to write action, it'll come out like albatross. It's just something totally random and bizarre.
That's amazing. I want to text you from that. Please text me from that phone.
So I have to be so careful now before I hit send, really paying. And it also sucks because, like I said, it used to, throw up words that I was likely to use. So if I'm writing a post, and this will all come back, but I mean, I had a year and a half of it. And it's like it thinks somebody else is using the phone now, or it reset to factory. So if I type Captain, it will give me the options Logan or America, and now they're Picard or something. Now it doesn't do that. And if I write Captain Logan, it used to always write show because I would write the updates about the show in my phone, and it doesn't do that anymore. It's irritating.
I'm sorry, man. You've been switching a lot of phones lately.
No, I haven't. I've had this same phone for a year and a half now.
Oh yeah, I mean lately. I mean in phone terms. I'm not saying
the
last week, but I've been stuck with the iPhone XR.
Pretty long time for me.
Oh,
maybe
Dave
it's been 2 years. I don't know.
Shame the Dreamcast didn't get. Whoa, this is a hard left turn. Shame the Dreamcast didn't get enough Model 3 ports. Would have loved to play Scud Race and Daytona 2 along with Star Wars Trilogy, etc.
I mean, I agree with that, of course, yeah. I mean, it sucks that the Dreamcast had such a small lifespan. It's amazing it has as many games for it as it does for as the little time as it was on the shelf. It got a lot of good arcade ports. I mean, that was, for American Dreamcast releases, the best stuff tended to be our arcade ports. Crazy Taxi and stuff like that. And even some ports of Japanese arcade games. Like the Spawn game is a reskin of a Japanese arcade game that I don't think we got. And then if you lived in Japan, it was a great system for RPGs, of course. And there have been, a lot of a lot of fans that have gone in and put in, American subtitles so that you can play those games. But that's I mean, I think in the Saturn both had a really good RPG library. I'm not an RPG guy, so I never played them for that. But yeah, no, I hear you. The Dreamcast should have been on the shelves for 7 or 8 years because it was amazing, and it still holds up really well, surprisingly. It was the best thing that was going on at the time, and its graphics rival PS2 in 1998. It's really cool. It did have the original Soul Calibur. Yeah, its arcade ports were very faithful. It was as close to on home console until you got to the last couple of generations that I think you had. Well, I mean obviously PS2 had some too, but it's a beautiful system.
Next up,
yeah,
Matches 35.
Hi there.
Not Not a lot of super chats from this guy. Welcome, or girl,
Hi.
or
whoever.
matches 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Could be a
I
robot.
don't know if it's like like fire matches or if it's like Pokemon matches.
Yeah, I wonder if we have any viewers that are robots from the future.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a robot from the future, I would absolutely watch two goofballs in their basements talking about nonsense.
That is a robot that wants to be more human and is starting to second guess that notion watching this show.
Apparently, they just ramble on and on about it, the useless topics that no one cares about. Matches 35. Just want to say hi, Cap. Oh, apparently is someone who hasn't left a lot of chats. So just wanted to say hi, Cap. Love your channel. Been a fan since I was a kid. I'm
Wow.
24 now. Keep up the great work, man. Awesome. I love
that's awesome. Occasionally I'll get that question, and I almost have to sort of look at my watch where I'm like, oh wait, how old am I again? Like, how long have we been doing this? People have
10 years.
People have grown up with the channel, and it's nuts. And like, I just. I have to remind myself that that a good number of our viewers were kids when we started, and if you go and look at our analytics, that is maybe not unsurprisingly, but I hadn't thought of this a few years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, I went and looked at this, and I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. At one time, our main demographic, according to YouTube analytics, not that I'm like aiming at a demographic like this, it's just people who like what I like, but it was like 16 to 24, and now it's aged up to mid 20s to 30s, and we have viewers in their 60s now. We didn't have that when I started. I think 5 to 10% of our viewership we have a higher percentage of viewers in their 60s than we have women.
Wow.
Which is fascinating, and I think that's gotten a little bit better in the last few years, or in the last couple of years. It used to be like 6 or 7%, and I think it's inching closer to 10%. Like, we have some female viewers, not a lot, but yeah, our female viewership and our elderly viewership is like this.
Oh man, competition. So welcome, Matches 35.
Thank you so much for watching and for sticking around so long. That's the thing that always blows my mind. Like somebody that watched it when they were a kid, that's really cool. And maybe they come back a bunch of years later. Oh, that guy's still doing this. People that say, I've been around this whole time, I can't get my mind around that. You guys are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that was me, man. It's still surreal that I'm like on shows with you and talking to you. You were like one of the guys I watched the most on YouTube. You were probably like top 5 YouTubers. And I watched a ton of YouTube back in the day when I was...
Well, I take that as a massive compliment. DJ, I'll tell you, man. I'm like the Borg. I find longtime viewers and then I assimilate them. I get them into it.
Yeah.
I don't let them leave.
The announcement that we're about to announce at the end of this, I can't even believe it's happening because like I was a viewer. It's crazy. You guys will see. It's worth it. Trust me. It's a crazy announcement.
Well, DJ,
yeah,
I know I polish your helmet a lot, but like, it doesn't surprise me you're here, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it just feels a little weird, but yeah, Matches 35. But the follow-up question I would have for you, Matches, is you've been watching from the beginning, and this is what you're watching now. How far has the channel fallen?
We change formulas quite a bit. I mean, we have a lot of the things that we make are like the things we used to make, but we like to change things around a lot. Every few months, and I like it that way.
Yeah, I love doing the live stuff. It lets us interact with the viewers so much more. It's really cool.
More and more,
Wolverine.
we're doing.
Yeah.
We're taking more things that we were doing off camera or excuse me, not off camera, but not live. Pre-recorded and taking them live. Like there was a time where I never would have thought to do commentaries that way. I much prefer doing a live commentary.
Oh yeah, it's great. Get to talk to you guys while it's happening. So we don't
Blue Dragon 5 went from 2 guys talking in a room together to 2 guys in different places talking.
Different states. Different hemispheres of the country. Or not hemispheres. Different,
Yeah, sure, let's go with hemispheres. So DJ, no, I want you to keep that mistake and just run with it. Just own that.
From now on, yeah, I'm going to call them the north and the east and west hemispheres.
We're already 53 minutes in, and I'm sure we haven't made a dent in these super chats. Would you do a couple of, as quick as possible, pre-written if you're able to, and then let's get back to the super chats and see how long it takes us to get through everything.
Yeah. Daniel Davis. Hey, Cap, if you could go back in... here we go again. If you go back in time and experience any film's original shoot, what would it be? Personally, I'd like to see the crazy behind-the-scenes filming of Apocalypse Now. I don't know the story of that.
So I'm not going to speak to that because it's been a long time since I've heard that, but that was apparently a tumultuous shoot. That is an awesome question. I love that. Similar to a question that was asked a few weeks ago where somebody asked, what premiere would you go back to, like, and see in the theater for the first time? This is what set would you go walk on? I love that question. Thanks very much. I'm gonna say the obvious. Obviously, I would have loved to have been there for... Well, Willy Wonka's a great
Willy
pick.
Wonka.
Sure.
That's the first thing I saw on the back.
It's gonna be two things for me, and they're gonna be obvious things for people, but obviously 89. Partly just to be around that car as much as humanly possible, but I would have loved to have been there for that. Well, no, actually, that is tied for Begins, because they built so much of that city inside of...
That could have been an amusement park, man. Why did they tear that down?
It could have been, yeah. Well, it was because it was a warehouse they were renting. I mean, they didn't own that place.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would have loved to have seen that shoot.
I wish more movies did what the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies did, where they left up Hobbiton after they didn't do it for Lord of the Rings, which sucked because they had to rebuild the whole Hobbiton when they did Hobbit.
Yeah.
But they left it up after that, so that's awesome. You could just go there and see the whole town. It's crazy.
Watch the special features for El Camino, because all the stuff they had to rebuild that they had to tear down from Breaking Bad is fascinating. All the props that they had to remake and stuff, it's nuts. Like, they had taken, like you remember that set where Jesse is where like they make him a slave and he's connected to that pole thing that he has to go back and forth. They had to rebuild that whole thing. They didn't have that anymore. And they made it all look identical to what it was, and it's nuts, all the stuff they had to remake. My other answer would be the 1978 Superman film, because I would have loved to have been there the first time Christopher Reeve is shooting a Superman. That must have been magic. So that's definitely my other big answer. There's a million things I could go to, though. I would have loved to have... I would have loved to have been on set for The Matrix to watch the camaraderie form between those actors, because Fishburne and what's his face, Keanu Reeves are like best of friends now. There's a lot of things like that where like you'd love to see like relationships form. Like what were these people like before they knew each other and really good friends. And I'm sure there's some train wrecks that would be kind of fun to go back and look at. Oh, I'd love to have... I know you're not a Jim Carrey fan, but I would have loved to have seen Jim Carrey doing the mask and that makeup. That would have been a big deal for me, too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. One of mine would be Lord of the Rings, by the way. They did so much crazy stuff in New Zealand, and like hundreds and hundreds of extras with those battle scenes. Like, that would be crazy. And he says just shoot, so I assume we get to watch the whole movie.
Yeah.
Being shot. So that would be insane.
1990 Ninja Turtles movie, that would have been fascinating.
Yeah, you go to a lot of older things. At least I am, because I don't want to watch a bunch of people in a blue room just like run around and fight each other in circles. Man.
Jeffrey's here. Good to see you, man.
Hey.
He says, Cap saw El Camino. Nice. Yeah, I reviewed it, actually. I went to the theater and saw it the same day it dropped on Netflix.
What's a theater?
Well, you see, it's these places we used to have where, no, actually AMC is going to open again here in a week, and it's going to be interesting to see if the theaters really come back full force or not. I have been predicting that may not exactly happen. Obviously, they're going to limp along and do the best they can, but it's hard to tell what the actual studios are going to do. But ironically, one of the first movies that we're going to get in the theater is a movie that we've been waiting on for like 3 years, that a lot of people were predicting before the virus would go to Hulu, which is New Mutants. It's nuts!
And now that everything's going straight to streaming, that one is not.
Yeah, and they're going, well, we need something to put in the theater, but that they had already put a date, like they were already planning to release that, which I think is crazy, especially after Dark Phoenix. But because of everything that's happened with quarantine and stuff, I think that's going to help them. I think that movie's going to do fine because there's not going to be anything else to see.
Yeah, the only thing that my theater's playing this upcoming week is this Russell Crowe movie called Unhinged. Have you seen that? Or seen ads for that?
No.
I keep seeing it on Facebook. It's like the only movie in theaters is literally what they're advertising it as.
God,
it said the #1 movie in the world, which is hilarious because it's the only movie playing.
If the way you... Yeah, but you would also say that.
Exactly. You would say anything to make it sound better.
If it had been what you'd said in the first place, if you were promoting that the only movie in theaters, your movie could be called Watching Paint Dry. Like, it wouldn't matter what it was, you know? Like, dude reading phone book. Like, it wouldn't matter what it was. The only thing... Go see it because it's what there is. That's fantastic. Somebody...
I gotta figure out if there's a way I can see New Mutants, because I'd love to talk about that with you next week. I don't know if I should go or if that's... I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm feeling funky about it, too. Right now, I'm thinking I will probably go ahead and review it, because I know we're just going to... As soon as it comes out, we're going to get inundated with comments just saying, like, what do you think about it? And I don't want to go sit in the theater and have to wear a mask for 2 hours. I'm not excited about that.
Yeah, I got a newborn, and I don't know if I should stay in a public place for that long. So, I don't know. It's weird.
It's very weird. Connor's been asking me if I'm going to go back to theaters because he's itching to start reviewing new movies again. If we do that, he's going to come help me with it. Right now, I'm leaning toward doing it, but I'm not the most comfortable about it either. So I'm not promising it. But yeah. Anyway. Well, we hit an hour yet? Yep, we've hit an hour. How many more super chats do we have?
1, 2,
oh no,
3,
the look on your
5,
face
6,
right now.
7, 8. 8? 9.
Okay.
9.
Not as bad as I thought.
But this next one from the Wolverine 1987 has 2 questions.
Okay, let's do it. It's a 2-for-1 special.
What are your... Oh goodness, I'm not prepared for this first one at all. What are your favorite superhero memes?
Oh.
I might have to do a quick Google search. I don't even know if I can think of one.
Yeah, we can answer that right away. No, don't feel the need to do like research in the middle of the live show. I'm not a big meme guy. I've come to appreciate them more since the Discord because there's guys in there that post really funny ones, and but generally speaking, I don't know. Very often I don't get them, and it'll be like everybody else around me seems to get this meme, but I don't, and I don't know. I don't love that experience, and sometimes they're just like really obvious jokes that I don't know. Like I think I've just been burned too much where people send me memes and expect me to respond like laughing out loud. And I'm like, okay, like it's Picard face palming again.
I do like the one that's from the end of Spider-Verse where the 2 Spider-Men are pointing at each other. You can get some good stuff out of that one. That's a superhero meme. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm trying to. There's some fun ones.
The one with Batman slapping Robin.
Yep, you see that one all the time. I've seen a couple here and there with Bonesaw. I feel like that's one that's pretty easy to do memes with. From Spider-Man, Bonesaw. Obviously, there's a lot of Bane ones. That's always really easy to do. A lot of Green Goblin ones too. A lot of stuff from that first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, there's the Captain America at the end of Homecoming in the chair. I see that one sometimes.
Oh, okay.
It's like, so, and it's instead of like, so you're in the principal's office, it's like, so, and something else stupid that you've done.
I don't have a great answer for that.
I don't have a lot of them on the ready to shoot off. Sorry, I wish I had a better answer for that. But he did leave us a
I can think of a lot of things that would be fun to make memes too, but I can't think of a lot of like pre-made ones that I find amusing, like with what the actual caption is.
Yeah, I'll see if there's anyone that are saying some cool ones in the chat while I read this next question. If you were offered a cameo in an adaptation of your book, what kind of cameo would you like it to be?
Are we talking about the food novel?
One of them, I guess. I guess either one of your books.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before, and this is self-indulgent, so I'll go quickly. But the food novel, Edible States of America, would probably have to be an animated thing, so I guess I would voice somebody. But I don't know. I'd like to be probably a taco. And I would want to be one of the foods that as the food wave first hits, and people go nuts, and it freaks everybody out, and there are riots and stuff. I'd like to be one of the first foods that gets eaten, I think.
Nice.
Because there's a lot of cannibalism.
We put a cameo of you in the. You guys don't know this, but originally, we designed the whole book, the whole physical book, before we decided to do the audiobook.
It will still come out. We just haven't.
Okay, well, you guys
yet.
might see this maybe because we kind of gone a different art direction. But we put a cameo. It wasn't a cameo, but on the about the author page for Cap, we made him a Mountain Dew can.
Oh, that's right. I couldn't remember what it was.
That was back in the thick of it.
Yeah, I'm a Mountain Dew can, but it doesn't say Mountain Dew, of course. And I don't drink Mountain Dew anymore.
Like Mountain Rush or something. I don't know.
But I mean, old school viewers of the channel still kind of associate with me with Mountain Dew because of Spawn years. I think that's the way to do it. But that or tacos. I do love tacos.
Yeah, tacos. You. In the old videos where you used to drive around with Vince in cars, you used to bring up Chipotle a lot.
I eat way too much Chipotle. I had Chipotle yesterday, the day before.
I've been there one time in my life. I don't know. That's not a thing that we have them here. I just never grew up. It's kind of just like what is it? Like, what would you compare it to? Like, what level of restaurant is Chipotle?
Well, Chipotle is a fast casual restaurant.
Like Applebee's or something like that?
No, it's It's actually a really specific model that's getting really popular right now, which is sort of cafeteria style. So it's somewhere in between fast food and sit down, where like you go into a place and you're not waited on, but it isn't fast food because you don't go through a drive-through. Some of them have drive-throughs, but it's in the same vein as a lot of sandwich places like Jimmy John's, and you could argue that Subway was one of the first of these.
Like
I
a
guess.
Moe's. Do you guys have Moe's there?
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. It's like a Mexican Tex. It's like you go through and make a burrito, and they make it for you, like Subway. Yeah.
But yeah, have you not heard the term fast casual? That is officially what that is.
Oh, cool. No, I haven't heard that. I don't do a lot of fast food eating, obviously.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, you probably save a lot of money that way, I'm sure. Oh man, lately it's been Chipotle like once a week at least.
Oh, that's cool. Next is from. Did we answer his question? Yeah, the cameo. So yeah. Next question, Draco.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't somebody have two questions?
Well, the first one was about the memes.
That's right. Did we get? Oh, was that the same guy?
Yeah, same guy.
Oh, good to know. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just let you do your job.
That's like questioning me. What's going on? Draco Aries.
I got a question for you, DJ.
He said he watched the Mortal Kombat. I watched the Mortal Kombat to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the film. I thought some of the location choices were cool. I'd agree with that. Not exactly the sets. The real locations. What is your opinion on the film? Oh, have you ever talked about this film?
A little bit. I don't know if we've ever done a video on it. I don't think so. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I first saw it with Tim Lyons years ago.
Oh, wow.
He invited me over and we watched it on his projector screen. He really wanted me to see it. And it's bonkers. It's so much fun. It's ridiculous.
90s.
It's ultra absurd. It's ultra 90s. I'm nostalgic for it because of the period it was made in. I didn't see it back then. I had friends that did. For whatever reason, I didn't get into it. I didn't play those games much when I was a kid, and I think I saw part of it actually at a friend's house, now that I'm thinking about it, and was like, that looks cool, but I never got into it. I agree the sets look super fake, but that's part of the charm of it, man. Like, it's ultra kitschy and goofy, and I love the costumes in that movie. Some of the makeup is really cool. I mean, everything I have to say about that is superficial because it's that kind of movie. But what was nice about it at the time was that it just felt really authentic. It's like, here's this really over-the-top, crazy, edgy video game, and that's what they made into a movie. Like it was like, it felt like a... in the most literal sense of the word, a video game adaptation. It's like, you don't get to play this; you're just watching it.
You just play it completely straight. Like, a lot of video game movies need to do that. But yeah, it was goofy as all get out. I saw it for the first time at a sleepover when I was way too young. It was my parents. I grew up at the karate school that my parents owned, and we did sleepovers there, like Friday nights, parents' night out type thing, where the parents could drop their kids off, and we would do stuff all night, and we watched Mortal Kombat because it's a martial arts school, and freaked the crap out of me, dude. I used to have like nightmares as a kid, like,
oh wow,
where I would actually my mom would have to wake me up and I would be screaming, but I would not and I would be talking, but I would not be awake. I would still be asleep. And that the Johnny Cage Scorpion fight where he's like rips his face off and like shoots fire out of his skull face, and then he like throws the thing and chops his head off, and then like cuts him and the blood comes. I was horrified as like a 7-year-old.
Yeah, and at the time, and I mean, you gotta have some historical perspective and remember the time that we were living in. Like when you go back and you play those early games and you see the blood in them, you're like, this is very tame. Like even though it has blood, it's like very cartoony. It doesn't even look like blood, and you're like, what was the big deal? And it was because back then we had to some degree use our imaginations. And because stuff did not look real realistic in video games yet. And so a kid playing that stuff at the time was going to imagine it as more violent than it really was. And also, we just weren't as desensitized as I think we tend to be now. So when you were a kid, and I know you're younger than me, but when you're a kid and you haven't seen a lot of rated R stuff, and then you see that movie, I think it has a similar effect, especially even 15, 20 years ago, where it feels worse even than it is if you've never seen anything like that. And having said that, both of my kids watched it with me and Eric a couple of years ago, and nothing in it bothered them at all. They just thought it was hilarious. The thing I remember is, and I guess Freddie must have been 3 or 4. I don't know why we let him watch that. Maybe he walked into the room a couple times. I don't know. And but all I remember is because we tend to watch movies with subtitles a lot in my house. The kids insist on it because they like to read, and so they're constantly practicing their reading skills, reading the words on the screen. And so we watch it with subtitles. And all I remember is Freddie going, "That's Goro!"
Well, didn't he go through a phase where he said "get over here" a lot?
Oh, yes, he did! Because he I forgot about yeah. Freddie did have a whole because that was what the bigger one though was test your might.
Oh, okay.
He kept saying test your, because we after that we started listening to the Mortal Kombat soundtrack because it had a great soundtrack for the time, that techno stuff. And
so when I was in a karate school demo team in the 90s, everyone was playing that song at every performance.
So we're driving around listening to that on my stereo, and if you go back and listen to the actual Mortal Kombat theme, they sample the announcer from the game, and he keeps going, test your might. And at 3-4 years old, Freddie was hearing it wrong, and he kept going, test you might, and he said that all the time, and we couldn't stop laughing. It never got old. He would just go, test you might.
I actually heard that wrong for years and years until I actually looked at the lyrics. I thought it was cast your might for the longest time. It sounds like they're saying cast your might. And in the sequel, they changed it to choose your destiny, which is much easier to understand.
Yeah, that would have been funny at all. If he said choose your destiny over and over again in that song, it wouldn't have been funny at all.
And the sequel is horrible, by the way. Don't ever watch the sequel.
I have heard that.
But, like, they turn into big, giant monsters at the end, but it's the 90s, and it's a low-budget movie, and the CG is horrendous. Like, maybe you should watch it, because that would be a good streaming board.
It would. We should see where that's streaming. Anybody in the comments that's seen this, I was thinking about watching this and reviewing it, and then I remember I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, but there's an animated movie that came out a few months ago that's a Scorpion thing, and I'm curious to know if anybody saw that and if it's any good, because I've not watched. I can't remember what it's called. Scorpion's Revenge. I don't think that's what it's called. It's a Scorpion something. But if anybody's seen that, let me know if that's worth watching.
So Blue Dragon 5 said he also did sleepovers. He did a couple sleepovers at his karate school when he was a kid, and he said they watched The Karate Kid, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But he also asked me if I've seen a movie called The Art of Self-Defense, which is a movie that came out, I think, last year. With Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh,
it's
wow.
Where it's like a dark comedy, like a really dry looking thing, and I was super excited about it. It's about him taking martial arts. He gets jumped, and then he starts taking martial arts at this karate school from this like eccentric, weird guy. I have it on my shelf. It's right there. It's in the yellow section. I'm really excited about it. I have it. I still haven't watched it for some reason. I don't know why. I probably
Now's
should.
the time. Not now, but soon.
Yeah, apparently I'm just watching things that Blue Dragon 5 recommends lately because I'm still watching through Avatar from his recommendation. I'm like 17 episodes in. I'm like flying through.
Don't tell him that, or he'll think that he can dictate your entire viewing. Like, he'll just keep going. No, DJ, this is the next thing you need to watch. You like things I give you, and so I am now going to change your life with my picks. That's what I would do. I would just constantly tell you all the things you need to watch.
Well, that's what everyone does to you, Cap.
Well, that's
you don't
true.
watch anything.
OAW, was I right? It is called Scorpion's Revenge? That's such a generic title. Am I right? Was I right about that?
You could just guess it. That's amazing.
Daniel Davis said that it's pretty good and more violent than the live action. I expected it to be pretty violent, but I may give that a chance and do a quick how he felt about it. Like a 4-minute how he felt about it, probably. Okay. Well, what else?
Let's keep Mortal Kombat in our back pocket for a later After Dark or something.
That's a great idea.
John, that would be a fun one. John Ty, should the big two age up their comic characters? That's a classic question. We talked about it before.
Yeah, a little bit. It's tough because of the, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Like I have talked about this kind of thing quite a bit.
Oh,
but
DJ and Cap talking about continuity again and how they disagree.
No, well, I don't think that's where this will probably go, DJ. The deal is when you're doing serialized stories. Well, I guess what I mean is when you have characters that you want to keep being able to tell stories about for a long, long time, you can do a couple of things. You can either keep them static and not let them change and grow at all, and not have them age at all, or you can age them or you can age them at real time and kill them off, which of course we're not going to do with characters like Batman and Superman. We've been writing those characters for 80 years. We're not going to stop doing that. Or you can age them really slowly. But if you age them really slowly, then at some point you're going to have to either reel them back or say we stop at this age, 35, 40, whatever it is. So it's there's never a really good answer to this. I mean, I don't think aging them up ever makes any sense. Just suddenly go, okay, now they're. I don't even know why you'd do that, really. Like I don't know why you'd say, Batman's 35 now. We're gonna make him 50. Yeah, but I think the idea was that was always meant to be temporary. That's what I've read.
What is it called? It's got a really goofy name.
5G.
Okay, yeah, it was like a Wi-Fi thing.
I think that was just a way for them to introduce some new characters, but I don't know how they're going to do it, but what I had read, and I don't even know if it's going to happen at this point with all the layoffs and stuff. I mean, who knows? They might scrap that whole thing. But I just have no idea. But I thought the idea with that was it would be the status quo for a couple of years, and then they were going to roll it back, and we would always know that they were going to do it that way. That they weren't even going to pretend like that was the main status quo moving forward. But yeah, how you handle, and I guess this is continuity related in that if you don't care whatsoever about continuity, you could just tell a bunch of random stories about these characters and maybe just like really loosely sometimes call back to things, but it doesn't really matter, that they're that connected, and then you could keep people, a certain age all the time. But again, the serialized nature of it just kind of depends on how long of a story you're telling. If you're doing a run that's going to take 10 years to tell, you have to be really mindful about whether or not that is going in real time, or if you're telling a story over 10 years, but inside the story actually only a year passed. I mean, you gotta be really mindful about how old your character is supposed to be, and sometimes we're just really ambiguous and vague about it. So I don't know. There's just no good answer, and it's also like a lot of things, kind of case by case, which becomes a problem when all these characters are supposed to live in the same world, right? Where with Peter Parker, I'd like him to keep aging and grow old and die, but that's never going to happen with that character, because that's kind of how he started. Batman, I think it's a pretty stagnant character. You have a character who's the whole point of him is that he refuses to change. You could perpetually keep him 35. The I'm Batman response to everything works really well for how does he go through so many different adventures. Well, he's Batman, his back can handle it. He's fine.
Yeah, the case-by-case thing is a big deal because Marvel started out that way, like you said, with Spider-Man, and he was changing and aging, but then they just kind of had to do a reset, and he's been stuck there ever since. Ugh.
This relates to something we talked about last week. I think the best thing to do, and I never thought I would say this, but the more we're seeing, how desperate these companies are to keep these characters interesting and relevant and not too stagnant, but also to create some new characters and to diversify things. I think every few years you should just completely start over and reinvent everything. And I'm kind of surprised I'm saying that, but I'm really at this point not married to I like continuity in the sense that it's fun to tell big complex stories that interweave in between each other, and for a thing you did 6 years ago to matter now. But I'm not married anymore to anything that happened 20 years ago necessarily. I'm kind of okay with keep reinventing things, especially because wouldn't it be nice to know that that's what we're doing? Because what we have been doing is we create a status quo, we make a big deal out of it, we act like it matters, and then a couple years later we just reset everything back to what it was before. Wouldn't it be great, DJ, if you knew when it was going to happen? If it was like, okay, every 10 years we're going to tell one big story, or a lot of different stories that all take place in the same universe. You're going to have one complex but manageable canon. We're going to intentionally do a crisis kind of thing every 10 years. But it doesn't even have to be a crisis. We simply start over with new cooks in the kitchen. We kind of... I don't want to say none of the same writers can stick around because you want people to have careers, but wouldn't it be cool if you just we kept reimagining it? That way, if you don't like what's going on now, eventually we might get a version that you like.
Yeah, that's how it is in other media, right? Like, you could have different generations. This is my era of comics, and then like you have people who grew up on the 90s Spider-Man show, people who grew up on the 60s Spider-Man show, people who grew up on Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, everyone has like their thing, and that's how comics could be too. You could introduce it'd be easier for new generations to be introduced instead of having to like jump into this big long thing.
And movies have sometimes been that way too, yeah. And I mean, I'm torn because, there are definitive versions of characters. I mean, I think that there's one really great version of comic book Bane, and I wish we could get back to that. But I think a lot of the compromised, not as good versions are because we hold on to certain bits of continuity, but not others. If we reinvented it every time and people got to be really creative with, here's going to be my version of this character, maybe we'd get a bunch of cool new versions of that and other things. Lewis Cox said that's what DC has been doing, and we got the New 52. With respect... No, wrong. That's not what happened. Because they tried to have their cake and eat it too. New 52 was pitched as we're going to full-on reboot. But that's not what they did. They put stuff in bubbles. It was really convoluted, and it didn't all fit together. And they were too worried that they would lose readers that were really into certain characters. The Green Lantern was really popular right then. So they had to keep building on whatever they had done recently with Green Lantern, even though most everything else was a reboot. Superman, they picked and chose. Batman, they picked and chose. And they absurdly said everything in Batman's history happened inside of a 5-year period. It was ridiculous. And so, here's the thing. The best New 52 stuff, most of it, I mean, I like a lot of Snyder, or at least some of Snyder, but most of the best stuff in New 52 were the reimaginings, were the starting completely over. If we'd done it with the entire universe and it wasn't awkward and confusing, New 52 could have been what they wanted it to be for the long haul, not just really, really popular and profitable at the beginning. It's what it always should have been.
Next up, 5590 ERS. In your opinion, would the classic blue and gray Batman cowl work on screen?
I don't know. I mean, I would have to see it. That's a thing that it depends on how you light it. How blue is it? You know what I mean? What is the aesthetic of the world? How stylized is it? How colorful is it? I submit that you can do dark Batman stories inside of a colorful world where, in the context of it, it's dark, but the color scheme itself is kind of lighter, and you can have a really interesting dichotomy with that. That's what a lot of 70s Batman comics are. They're very colorful, but they feel dark. Like the tone of the stories is kind of gothic.
Yeah, that I assume that's what he means is when he says the classic gray and blue, because we got the gray and blue in Justice League, but it's
Yeah.
so dark that it's
It
not.
almost doesn't matter that there's any blue in
Yeah,
that
he
suit.
probably wants like the bright and the gold symbol and everything. Yeah, I don't know, man. You'd have to be really confident. You'd have to have a really confident filmmaker who could.
Oh, I'd love it.
His tone so like.
I'd love to see it
consistent.
attempted. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can have a really cool
that-
juxtaposition with him.
I mean, I think it's just weird because it's Batman, right? Like Thanos is wearing a big purple and gold metal. Like Marvel doesn't have a problem with doing the goofy costumes.
Yeah, but they started that way. I mean, they like going all the way back. They've always kind of owned that.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying. I think it's
and in
just because
places
it's
I don't
Batman,
think
people
they go
sort of
far enough with the wilder comic ideas. But right away, they're not afraid to put Loki in that suit. And as soon as they did that with Loki, you knew that they wouldn't be afraid to do stuff like Thanos.
Yeah, because Loki has the weird, craziest helmet of anybody. They didn't do Sockface.
But it also helps that they went comedic with their first big cosmic thing, because that helped them with audiences to get away with that. And I think if Guardians had been a real serious thing, it would have been harder to get people on board with some of the weirder looking stuff. That's also partly why Thor is as comedic as it is, and this is why people going all the way back, but especially these days, complain that the Marvel movies are too comedic. Like, I think that there's a real correlation there, DJ, where like and part of why they went for Whedon, like we're not as afraid to do the goofy comic stuff if we pitch these things at least partially as comedies.
Yeah. Yeah, because you look at Winter Soldier, you look at Civil War, they kind of toned down all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not like Batroc the Leaper was wearing a Batroc the Leaper costume.
Yeah, and Sockface.
Yeah.
Wasn't, what's his name? I can't even think of his name.
No, let's just go with Sockface.
Zemo.
Baron Sockface Zemo. Now he's
profile.
he's a '90s wrestler now.
The human sock.
Weighing in at 135 pounds, it's Baron Sockface Zemo.
Oh my goodness. Sockface is ready.
I got you for 3 minutes.
That's a cute sock. Did your husband get it for you? All right, we need to stop this. We're never gonna get through this.
What made you think to put that on your head? How long did it take to stretch it so it would fit on your head? Do you have a matching one, or is its match still small enough to put on your foot? Anyways.
Okay, the Wolverine 1987.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Tick's body with Arthur's self-esteem or Arthur's body with Tick's intelligence?
Everything about
Whoa.
that is weird. There is an episode about this in the animated series. It's called The Tick versus Science, where everybody's brains get switched. And at one point in the episode, including DJ, you have to see it. The Tick at one point is in the body of a zebra, which is fantastic. And he goes up against Chairface Chippendale. And it's one of Chairface's best lines. The Chairface, you face the Tick. No, I face a zebra. You face the Tick. Because Chairface at that point is in the Tick's body, fighting him as a zebra. It's the best. But anyway, so we actually see that happen in that episode where at one point Tick and Arthur switch bodies. And I guess it is more amusing in that episode, so this will be my answer, to see Arthur not realizing the Tick's strength and having a hard time being in his body than it is watching the Tick in Arthur's body flying around crashing things. I think Arthur in Tick's body was actually more entertaining, so I'm going to go with that.
Interesting. John Ty. Why does Earth 1 Superman work and Man of Steel doesn't? For a more down-to-earth Superman story.
Why does Earth 1 Superman work and Man of Steel doesn't? Because as much as that Superman starts from, cynical's not the right word, but from a more kind of suspicious or just I'm not sure I want to be a Superman place, it's, first of all, more believable. He's a very relatable character in the first place. So if you want a really human Superman, I'm buying that guy, and he feels like people I've known in a way that Man of Steel Superman didn't. And then Man of Steel Superman never gets him to the altruistic place classic traditional Superman is, and I think that he becomes a more classic Superman in Earth 1 under JMS's pen, beginning with a modern day teenager. It's very much Ultimate Superman. It's like if that guy existed now, what is the origin where you would buy him becoming more or less the guy you know? And I just don't feel like that's what we got with Man of Steel and BVS. So that would be my answer.
Nice. Matches 35 answers my follow-up question.
Oh wow.
On the degradation of the channel. He says, I don't think.
Oh no! Because honestly, it sucks now. But like, I used to like that guy, so I guess I kind of still support it.
No, he says the exact opposite. He says, I don't think the quality has dipped at all.
Oh, wow,
you were and still are one of my essential YouTubers.
Wow. I don't understand that at all, but I really appreciate it. You rock, man.
But that DJ guy, he's ruining the whole operation. Get him out of here.
You were the only reason that we've been able to hold this thing together, man.
Speaking of, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Well, John Ty, would you say the Green Lanterns are vigilantes or cops?
Depends on the Green Lantern you're talking about. It's a depends question, but by and large, they're cops. I guess it depends on whether or not they're actually listening to the Guardians, right? Like, the Guardians make rules for space cops, and whether or not you think that they should get to make those rules, they have elected themselves in charge. Okay, all right, I'll say this. If they're listening to the Guardians, then they are cops. If they are not, and they're using their powers however they want to use them, they are vigilantes. Whether or not the Guardians are vigilantes is something that you have to decide for yourself.
Boom. Definitive. That's the answer.
That's the answer.
The Wolverine 1987 gave us another $5 super chat, but he retracted it.
Oh, goodness.
So
okay.
I am going to thank you for the donation. And if you meant to do that, or if you wanted to say something else, feel free. I don't know if you're still in the chat or if you're still watching.
You know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start coming up with really brief alternate questions that we could answer instead. So, DJ, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Oh. Oh, man. What are those trees in, like, Australia that are, like, perfect for climbing? They go, like, out, and the branches are, like, there's tons of trees, and you can, like, literally just jump across them. Those trees are awesome. I love climbing trees, by the way.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
Redwood?
I'm going to go with the Karate Kid answer and say bonsai.
A little bonsai tree that people can carry around in a little bowl?
Yep. I want to be a tree you can carry in a bowl. Read into that whatever you want to.
Climb up the sides of buildings and almost kill themselves trying to get one, like what happens in Karate Kid 2.
Yes, that scene is amazing. And he almost just lets that kid die. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Karate Kid 2 and 3, man, those were some...
3 is insane. That thing with the ice is insane.
Next Karate Kid, that's what we should do
We should. I haven't seen that since it came out.
Yeah, I saw that as a kid. I had it on VHS.
I've gone back to 1 through 3 in semi-recently, in the last few years, in anticipation of...
yeah, when is season 3 coming out? I was so pumped for that, but it's been so long.
I wonder if they had to do some. We're talking about Cobra Kai. I'm wondering if they had to do some reshoots or something, because here's what's crazy. It was supposed to come out the week, I think, after Planet Comic-Con, because both of those main guys were going to be here in Kansas City at Planet Comic-Con. Jason is in love with that show. I was going to take him. We were going to get autographs and everything. And then the very next week, that season was supposed to drop, and the show got canceled. I mean, the show, Planet Comic-Con, the convention, got of course canceled right after the quarantine was put into place, and then shortly after that, it was announced that wasn't coming out yet. So I don't know what happened. It was supposed to come out like 3 weeks after quarantine. Was what I had read.
Blue Dragon 5 says Cobra Kai is coming to Netflix this month, like the first 2 seasons.
That doesn't surprise me, because I figured somebody else would buy it because of its popularity. YouTube Red didn't work out. Shocker, I know. Nobody bought that.
We asked you to pay for something that you've had for free for 10 years and it didn't work? What?
Well, no, it's worse than that, Jim. It's worse than that. So what they did was they wanted to compete with streaming services, and and actually get people to pay for it. So they came up with a bunch of content made by, most of which cost $16 to make. Well, you're right. Some of it was like that, right? Where it was like popular YouTubers just making other things that you have to pay for. But some of it, like Cobra Kai, were like professional TV shows and things made by, professionals that should have been given more money and put on real streaming services, but instead they try to get you to pay for it on YouTube. It was ridiculous. And the price tag was insane. It was like $15 a month.
Yeah, I tried the free trial, and I love being able to download, or I love being able to play offline, and it's so annoying that that's a paid feature. But yeah, I mean, Cobra Kai is clearly the best of anything.
It's too much money. It's not worth it. I will admit that I am still paying for it for like 2 features that I use all the time. Yeah, I know, I hate it, but here's the thing. I listen to a lot of videos that I'm not watching, and it lets me put my phone in sleep mode and not have to keep the phone open, and like I pay for it just to have that feature mostly. Isn't that ridiculous? But I use it all the time.
Man. I used to listen to your stuff. It used to be like a long time ago. You used to be able to turn it off. That was like, it used to be a feature that YouTube could do, but now they made it a paid feature, and it's so annoying. It runs my batteries dead because I leave the screen on the whole time. I watch your like 2-hour videos. So
yeah, because we make those. We're making one of those, I think, right now.
Yeah, I don't have to listen to them anymore because I'm just part of making them. So.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think, once again, kind of figured tonight would be an hour night. It has not been that.
No, we were talking about shooting some more Mania after this. I don't know if that's still
I don't think we're going to have time now. Yeah, but you guys are great. I mean, now part of this is because you guys are awesome coming in asking really cool questions, and part of it is because I'm long-winded and taking too long. But if you guys weren't asking the kinds of questions that I can't help myself but talk a lot about, this wouldn't be happening. So, I mean, thanks to you guys, because I've loved the questions, and that's why I'm talking so long.
Yeah, man. Over a year into the show, and we're still getting these crazy good questions. It's
longer than that. It's been over a year with you being on the show, but I did this for a number of episodes before you.
That's true.
I think the show itself has been closer to 2 years now.
Jeez Louise. Time flies. Next is up from another new name I don't recognize, J Forever King.
Oh wow.
Would you have rather had a second season of Firefly or Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles?
Ooh, I love this question. I love it so much. I think I have to say second season of Firefly. I think. Well, I don't know. Okay, all right. No, I'm not gonna say that. Here's why I almost said that. This is hard. This is really super hard. Okay, so both of these, obviously, for folks that don't know, really good shows, prematurely canceled, didn't get proper endings. The difference between them is that Firefly got an ending of sorts. It got a movie that is very, very good. I stand by it. I think Serenity is wonderful. I've done a commentary on it with Lance Fusion. If you're curious to see that, we recorded that 4 or 5 years ago, and I forget when. It was a few years ago, and that movie obviously doesn't completely end things. You could have kept making movies after that, but it wrapped up a lot of story threads, and it got the show to where I believe Whedon said where he wanted it to get to by the end of like the 3rd season. There's like 2 seasons of TV in that movie, which is why it's so dense. And even if you know that show really well, you have to watch it at least twice. Sarah Connor Chronicles did not get that. Sarah Connor Chronicles ends on a mind-bendy cliffhanger. A cliffhanger I surprisingly called and thought I was a crazy person thinking that's where it was going 5 episodes in, and then it turned out I was right about it, and I just couldn't even believe it. You can watch my spoiler cast on that with Austin. We did that a couple weeks ago, and I just got finished watching that show, and I guess I have to say Sarah Connor just because it didn't get anything like an ending, and there were a lot of things that needed to be wrapped up that weren't, so I guess that has to be my answer. But the reason I said Firefly in the first place was just because there's such a, rich continuity there that you wanted to see that show go for 5, 6, 7 years. And Sarah Connor Chronicles also had a really great mythology, and it was surprising that they were able to stretch that premise for as long as they did. But Firefly was a brand new universe that was so rich. And so yeah, I don't know. Story-wise, Sarah Connor. World-wise, Firefly. That's my answer. And they both have Summer Glau. That's true.
Next up is Lewis Cox.
Yeah.
Is anyone excited for Tenet?
Well, I guess you'd have to ask everybody on the planet, because I'm sure there are people excited about Tenet. I don't know a great deal about it. I've stayed away from trailers because I kind of wanted to go into that as blind as I could. So I guess I'm excited about it in the sense that it'll be cool to see him go back to, Christopher Nolan, go back to genre and see what that movie is. But I have stayed away from everything. So.
All right. The Wolverine 1987 did another $5 super chat without a question. So thank you again.
Thanks so much.
For the second questionless donation. We appreciate that.
Okay, DJ.
I don't know if he's meaning to do this. But
so we'll pretend like this was his question. If somebody forced you to get a tattoo, what would it be of, and where on your body would it go?
Oh, good. I've actually been talking about this lately because my wife is about to get another.
Oh, is this too personal of a question?
No, I don't actually know what mine would be. I've never been a tattoo guy. My wife has a few. I'm so like wishy-washy and so like, you know this about me, like. When I make, and this is a lot of creative people and artists, you hate the thing you make like immediately afterwards. Like you're never happy with your work for very long. Like I'm not even happy when I like pump it out when I initially do it. But sometimes I'm a little happy with it for a little bit, and then I look back at it like a couple weeks or months later, and I'm like, oh, wow, what was I thinking when I did that? So like I could never think of something that I would be so happy with that I could leave it on my body for the rest of my life. So I don't know if I can make that decision. It's hard for me to like make usernames when I'm signing up for like services. I like second guess myself so much. I don't know. What would you do?
So we've talked about this on After Dark before, but I don't mind bringing it up here. I've had lots of ideas for tattoos, and it's a thing that I've always been not sure I really want to do. It's like, do I really want to, put a thing on myself permanently? But also just, there's maybe a little bit of stigma attached. Where it's like, oh, you're going out onto that bandwagon, or like, when I was a kid, like it was biker guys that got tattoos. It wasn't like everybody goes, now everybody gets tattoos. And so I don't know if I really want to, but I fantasized about certain things. One thing I always thought would be cool would be to get my wife's name like vertically, maybe down an arm, in Kryptonian symbols. I thought that was kind of a neat idea. Another thing I've thought about is Velociraptor, because I love Velociraptors, and specifically the Velociraptor in Jurassic Park opening a door. I've seen that tattoo online. I thought that was really cool. But the more I've thought about it, I have recently changed my mind. I think it's got to be Lord Zed. I think Zed would make the coolest tattoo. I don't know if it's his face. If I was a crazy...
His like visor vision like coming off and like seeing like your insides, like sometimes they do those tattoos where like your bones are showing through or something.
That's a cool idea. I wouldn't have even thought of that. That's a cool idea. If I was a crazy person and I wanted to get a giant tattoo, it would be just the Z staff, right? It'd be the Z at the top of my back, and then the staff would go all the way down my spine.
Or just your spine is like Lord Zed's spine, like you get like the metal.
Ooh, it's just all on your back. That's crazy. That's going a little too far. I don't think my wife could even handle that.
She couldn't even look at you. No, you should get Zed's face tattooed on your face.
Like that crazy person that
Red Skull
did it with Red Skull. Yeah. Oh my God, that was insane. That guy is a crazy person. He was regretting that 16 seconds after he did it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know about your spine, Cap. That seems like the most painful place to get a tattoo.
Well, here's the thing though. If you did the Zed staff, you could do it around your spine. Like it wouldn't be actually on it. You'd like outline your spine. That couldn't be too bad. And then right at the bottom, but the problem is it would have to meet at the bottom. That would be probably the most painful part, because you'd have to get the sharp bottom of it. Anyway, we should move on. But now, and here's the thing: I've been thinking lately, if I got a tattoo, it would be the Zed thing. I just came up with the staff along my back thing right now as we're talking, and I'm kind of in love with it now.
Okay, I think the rule is before you get a tattoo, you need to think about it for at least a month. Make sure you're happy with it. Don't get on the spur of the moment.
I am going to show you guys that tattoo next week. No, I'm kidding.
That'll be an After Dark. That'll be 33. What is it? 35? When we get 35,000 subscribers, Cap will get a tattoo.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that out loud. You know what though? That would be the
Push it to 50,000, and
That would be that means I'm getting a tattoo at like 43, 45.
Hey, if it keeps going.
I jumped, but we're at what, 34, close to, like, I jumped out of an airplane at 10,000 subscribers, and that was in 2012, 13. I mean, that was a long time ago. Like, but a tattoo is crazy enough as a thing to do for a big subscriber milestone. Because the reason I haven't done a milestone since then, really, is because I couldn't come up with anything as crazy as jumping out of a plane. My favorite...
Pretty up there.
It's up there. My favorite comment on that video was, what are you going to do when you hit 100,000 subscribers? Go to space?
Hey, that would be awesome. If the opportunity arises, I suggest you take it. People are telling me that I should get a welding mask.
I saw that!
And, like, that would be a huge commitment to this channel only, because this channel is the only place where that's a thing. Like, that was, like, 2 days of my life. A couple weeks was the whole shoot. So, like, that has such a tiny impact on my life, but it just keeps getting brought up here. So that would be just for this channel if I did something like that. That'd be crazy.
But it's been immortalized on the channel.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We have changed your whole life, DJ.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the welder's face mask tattooed on my face.
Okay, how many more super chats do we have?
Just 2.
Oh, okay, all right.
One is from John Ty.
Let's talk about
with the amount of stories that Marvel. I don't really know if we talked about the Tenet thing at all, but with the amount of stories.
I mean, they just said, is anybody excited about it? Yes, they are.
Yeah, I would be. I don't. If I knew if I was ever going to be able to see it, I don't know when it's coming out. I haven't looked into it. When the amount of stories that Marvel and DC published for comics, with the amount of stories, do they still need to make more comics to create movies and TV shows?
Real quick, some people have some crazy ideas for things to do for a milestone. Stephen Murphy, go on a walk across the world like Superman. I mean, I wouldn't walk across the world, but the idea of doing some kind of, like, cross-country thing is actually really interesting. I've always considered doing something like that.
Silver Fox, or whatever her name is from X-Men Origins Wolverine, telling you to walk until your feet fall off, or whatever she says.
Oh, no. That would be... but if you take a camera with you, and, yeah... Maniac Madness says shave your head like Walter White. I shaved my head back in high school and I loved it, but my wife doesn't care for it, so.
Yeah. You should get one of those drones that follows you. Have you seen those?
Yes.
The world knows follow right behind you.
Okay, so with the amount of stories
sound harsh enough.
With the amount of stories that Marvel and DC publish for comics, do they still need to make more comics to create movies and TV shows? I would argue no. I think there's still plenty of stuff to adapt from, and I think there's also plenty of stuff that we've sort of adapted pieces of, where you could still do a lot more of those stories and do something closer to a direct adaptation. At the moment, I mean, I think there's still plenty of stuff to mine from. It probably depends on the character to some degree. You know, some of the lesser-known characters may not have, that we've been adapting, may not have as many, good or major, but they don't have to be major stories. There's all kinds of great, even great Green Arrow stuff that TV show, because it was more of a Batman show and because it got really hokey kind of quickly, either never did or never did well, for example.
Yeah. Let me see. Last one I have is, so you want to be an Imagineer?
Yeah, hi there. We had him on the channel.
Oh, sweet. He was the theme park guy, right?
Yeah, he was with
Blue Dragon 5?
He was with Blue Dragon 5. Yeah, he was on the animation.
Awesome. Welcome, man. I talked to you about what did I talk to you about? Goof Troop and Three Caballeros, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, we took a journey that evening. Yes, we did.
Oh, and this makes perfect sense. He said he's looking into a Stitch tattoo for his 30th birthday.
Wow. That does not surprise me at all coming from you.
Yeah, animated.
That could be cool.
Stitch is a cool design. I like that movie. I haven't gone back to it very much, but I liked this kid. And the show was crazy.
Somebody said we might have missed a super chat about DC video games.
Yeah, I am going to the live dashboard right now because if I did miss it, it's way too far back for me to see. So
there's some other stuff. 559 OERS $1.99 super chat. Have you guys seen HBO's Chernobyl? No. I didn't even know about that.
I've heard fantastic things about it, but it sounds like a really depressing, sad thing. And I don't know if That was earlier last year, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about it. So I may take a look. God, there's so many things I need to look at.
The live dashboard completely changed. I can't find it.
Well, that's okay. I've got it here.
Okay, good.
Well, and I'm still using the Classic Studio. You can still get to that for now anyway. They're going to change it. Brian Ohl, $5 Super Chat. Hey, guys, with Fandome this weekend. And by the way, we will, depending on what gets announced, we will probably do a mostly Fandome show next. Well, DJ, we may want to forego a commentary and just do it on Tuesday because it'll be so recent. I know people are going to want...
Is it over the weekend?
Yeah, it's over the weekend.
Okay.
I think it's Saturday. So that may be what we have to do on Tuesday because I know people are going to want us to talk about that and that we can get not ahead of it but close enough. So anyway, what are you looking for from the two video game presentations? Suicide Squad, Kill the JLA or the Justice League and the Batman game. I didn't even know about the Batman game. I have not been keeping up real hard with this stuff. I was just gonna kind of wait and see Fandome and see what they announced. So I don't have anything major that I'm excited to see. I just hope that there's actually some revelations in Fandome, and then it's not like the really unfortunate, awkward, kind of embarrassing Star Trek thing where there was like a title of a thing that we already knew about that was announced. It was like an hour and a half long and there was nothing new at all. It was really embarrassing. I'm assuming Fandome won't be like that. It's going to be really curious to see how awkward that whole presentation ends up being with the firings that just got announced. That's going to be weird. But just as far as specifically, what I expect to see in that stuff, Suicide Squad's going to be interesting. I don't know. That's not a thing I needed, really. I mean, I was a lot more stoked for more Batman that wasn't as Arkham-centered, but that could be really cool. I'm not immediately excited about that as a premise for a thing. Because, I mean, we already had, like, really adult, pretty violent Batman. Suicide Squad, they can go anywhere, and I'm kind of expecting that to be not my thing, but I guess... we'll see what that's like. I don't know. So I'm open-minded. I hope it wins me over, but I'm not immediately super excited about that. And I didn't know anything about the Batman game. So are we talking about the movie? Are they doing a game based on that movie? Because first of all, if that's true, if that's what he means by the Batman, they're not going to be able to show us too much, or they're going to risk our finding out too much about that movie. But also, that'll be the first time we've done that in a really long time with anything.
Yeah, I can't even... What was the last thing? One of the Marvel MCU, like Thor or something?
Matali says, no, they're not. I assume he means talking about the Batman. Blue Dragon 5, not sure if the Batman game in question is Court of the Owls or an Arkham continuation. Oh, I guess we are just talking about still Rocksteady. So is Rocksteady going to be announcing two DC games simultaneously? Is that what we're talking about? It's just the way the question was worded. It said the Batman, not the Batman game, but it looked like the Batman game. So I don't. So, yeah, because we've had rumors forever that Rocksteady was doing it. Oh no, was it supposed to be Montreal? That must be what it is. It must be Rocksteady's probably making the Suicide Squad game, and Montreal's making the Batman. I bet that's what it is. If that's actually happening, I don't know a lot right now. I haven't been keeping up real hard. I was kind of just waiting for Fandome, where I could be sure that all the announcements were real. Because I've been really sick of responding to game news that turns out not to be news.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm right about
you
Montreal.
did almost a whole show about that last Batman Beyond game that was supposedly happening.
Yeah. Well, and now that I'm thinking about it, with that title, because again I haven't looked into this, but if it's Suicide, I forgot about that. It's supposed to be Suicide Squad versus the Justice League. Makes you wonder: are you going to be able to play as either side? Because that could be really cool, actually. Or is it going to be like you're the Suicide Squad and the Justice League are basically the antagonists of the game? That could also be kind of interesting. I guess throwing the Justice League in immediately makes me more interested in it, I guess. But
that's all she wrote.
Yep. That's all I got. Okay, DJ, maybe throw like one more pre-written at me because we had so many super chats and we kind of shafted quite a bit of that. We're so close to 2 hours anyway.
People are really looking forward to that Fandome thing in the comments. Some people are, so we should definitely do a show specifically about that.
I was planning on it as long as enough actual stuff got announced.
Yeah. Wow, that one's. I feel as where is that?
This is my favorite
Sorry,
part.
some of these
My
are
favorite part of the
hilarious.
show is watching DJ read.
You will have nothing to say about them. They're just like jokes for me. Cap, are you ever gonna watch the Sopranos? That's from Utale.
I need to. I mean, I should. I hear about that show all the time, and as big of a Breaking Bad fan as I am, that was so influenced by that. I certainly need to. Just haven't gotten around to it. I now have access to it, so that's good. I started watching 6 Feet Under at one point. That was one of those old HBO shows that I had meant to watch for a long time and was enjoying it, but I haven't gone back to it. So I keep getting distracted, not finishing it.
Cap and DJ, have you seen the HBO Max film An American Pickle? If so, do you pick up a bit of a Ben Edlund vibe? I saw that, and that would be a perfect thing for Streaming Wars because it's a HBO Max exclusive, but it's a Seth Rogen, and it says, I don't know, the thing I saw about it, the ad was like Seth Rogen as you've never seen him before, so I don't know if he's playing like I'm sure it's probably not completely serious, but it might be like a more serious comedic thing.
I'd be curious. I saw that title, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either. He's in like old-fashioned like 20s garb.
If we did that, it would be, and you know what? It might be cool to sample pilots on that show.
That's another cool thing.
For the Streaming Wars.
Me and my wife watched through the whole Love Life, which is an HBO exclusive with Anna Kendrick. So we've been watching that stuff. But I haven't watched American Pickle yet. No, is it good?
Is what good?
What? I was asking Blue Dragon 5 if American Pickle's good. He didn't say it was good, but he said it had a Ben Edlund vibe. So
sorry,
that means he liked it.
Some of your words were cutting out, and I wasn't sure what you were saying. So we had some lag, and then there was some cutout, and it was great. It wasn't awkward at all. But see, there's the lag. There it is. Still not awkward.
Yeah, it's happening to me, to you on my end too. It's weird.
That whole commentary, if we did that Seth Rogen thing, would just be people in the comments going, "Cap, you look just like that guy."
I feel like you look more like him as you've gotten older. I don't know. I don't know if that stands up. Do you get it as much as you used to?
No, and people were saying it to me a lot more like a decade ago. And I think you're right. I think I look more like him now, especially if I have a beard. Yeah, but I mean,
beard and longer.
I mean, I go back and forth on the beard a lot. You know, sometimes it's a soul patch, sometimes it's a goatee. I like to change my facial hair constantly. Well, maybe one more because there's
Billy
so much. Yeah, go ahead, DJ. I'll wait.
No, sorry, I was just gonna read. Billy the Kid Lawrence says, "An American Pickle, preserved in pickle brine for 100 years, an Orthodox Jewish factory worker wakes up in New York City and tracks down his great-grandson." Weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as serious as I thought it was.
That does sound
crazy premise.
That does sound sort of Edlundy or
It's Encino Man with pickles.
Yeah. Or anything else where somebody's in stasis, yeah.
What's that, Leopold? What's that, like, rom-com? Is that Kate and Leopold or something? Anyway. What are your most fond memories of Big Fat Liar? Cap has not seen that movie. Cinematographic. Cap.
Yes.
Would Daisy Johnson / Quake and Romanoff / Black Widow take Carol Danvers in I didn't read this one through. In a fist fight? Yes, no, maybe, and why and how? Cinematographic is really interested in your opinion on if Quake and Black Widow could take Carol Danvers. No, not at all.
That would be like asking if they could take Superman. Like, no, just because they're two of them and they have different powers? Like, no, Carol Danvers is still super overpowered. Like, no, of course not.
No, Black Widow would die instantly.
No, you need to be like, I mean, Iron Man with a bunch of technology, like, maybe has a little bit of a chance depending on what he's using. I mean, that's about the extent of that. Like, no, you got to be Thanos, really. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe because he said fist fight. Maybe like Carol Danvers doesn't have powers. I don't know.
Well, at that point, it's not an interesting question because I don't know how strong Carol Danvers. I don't know how many reps she can do. Like, I don't know how much she's benching. Yeah.
Then it's just like a pilot versus a spy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that for me and a lot of people I know. You know what I mean? Like, who would win in a fist? I don't know. Like, I'm pretty scrappy, but if it's an arm wrestle, I'll lose to everyone.
Yeah, Captain Logan's like Wolverine. He's scrappy. You should go as Wolverine to a con.
Yeah, I've always thought about it, but I would need to. I mean, yeah, Wolverine's pretty scrappy, but he does tend to have more muscle than me. I would still have to probably do a little bit of weight training to pull off Wolverine, depending on what I was wearing, I guess. You know, because Wolverine likes to do a lot of like muscle shirts and stuff. Like I don't know, I don't know what I could wear and not have to do exercise a lot.
James, in the chat, just said,
Hi.
Cap, was your novel influenced by Sausage Party?
It was not. I've never seen that. Ever since I announced it, everybody's been like, oh, Cap's novel's going to be like Serious Sausage Party. I've never seen that. And I have no intention of doing that.
Neither have I. Maybe that could be an After Dark. And we could talk about it like in light of your in light of your novel.
OAW says I'm too tall for Wolverine. That is not true.
No. Everyone thinks you're so tall, man.
I don't think Wolverine...
It's like you put the camera up.
I'm only 5'6". I don't think Wolverine is much shorter than I am. Like, he's supposed to be a short, scrawny guy, or not scrawny guy, but like scrappy guy.
5'3", is he not?
He can't be as less as 5'3", can he? Maybe.
I used to have a lot of I had a lot of trading cards as a kid. Yeah, Wolverine's 5'3".
Okay, that means I am too tall. Okay, I nearly
crazy short. Holy.
I nearly would have to be jockey size.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The MCU Wolverine needs to be 5'3". I demand it.
So you want to be an Imagineer says don't do it. No, I have no intention of watching Sausage Party. Nobody panic. I'm not going to watch that. God, I didn't know he was that short though. That means everybody. That means everybody towers over him. Like even like Cyclops. Like I don't think of Cyclops as stupid tall. He's probably 6 feet.
Yeah, he's 6 foot, 7 inches taller than Wolverine. Man, that would have taken all the. That would have taken everything out of the movies if they had Hugh Jackman like 7 inches shorter.
That is an example of a major change to a character in a movie that I think is fully justified.
Yeah.
For the sake of those movies. I mean, I have no problem with them attempting to do a really short Wolverine later. That could be cool, but I totally get why they did it there.
Yeah. Like 5'3", that's... I don't think you realize how short that is when you're making a comic book. Like,
no.
That's really short.
No, that's really short. Speaking as a short person, that's really short.
Yeah, because you always talk about how you feel short with, like, Vince and Eric being 6 foot, and then 5'3" is 3 inches shorter than you.
And I'm almost average male height, but an average is like taking everything together. And so the majority of men I know are a lot taller than me, and a good number of women I know are taller than me, including my wife, which I've always lamented a little bit. Sarah is taller than average for a woman, and she is 2 inches taller than me. She drives me crazy when she puts heels on, man. She just towers over me. It does become Cyclops versus Wolverine at that point. She's so tall. She's got these like 6-inch heels. She likes to rub it in too. There have been times because I have to like, this and like I don't mean to sound like this is that big of a deal to me or like I feel emasculated by it or anything, but like it is kind of weird to have to reach up to kiss your wife. It's a little weird, right? And she likes to really rub that in. So if she wears those to go to work and I try to kiss her goodbye before she leaves the house, she'll get up on her tippy toes like, stop it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mutale says, or asks, will your kids be short, Cap?
That's a great question. I have had that question a lot. I don't know genetically which side tends to affect height more. I think it's 50-50, but I don't know that for sure. Sarah has a pretty tall family. Most of the men in her family are pretty tall. So I'm hoping she wins out on that. I think the likelihood is that some of them will be very tall and some of them will not be as tall.
Yeah, you're probably going to get a mix.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking. William Parcell, wasn't she shorter when you first started dating her, or did she keep growing and you... well, no, because, I mean, we were both adults when we met. We didn't have any growing left to do. I didn't meet Sarah in high school. I met her right after. So, I mean, we were both 19? She was 18, I was 19? I guess it's possible to grow a little bit more after that for some men, but women are done pretty early, right?
Yeah, they grow first and then they stop first.
I think girls tend to stop by 15, 16. Am I right about that? Forget.
Someone says, if that's the case, then the only people available to play Wolverine are Danny DeVito and Kevin Hart.
Yeah, exactly. There aren't a lot of well-known actors that you have to find an unknown. But Hugh Jackman wasn't an unknown. Theory. I mean, relatively. So, anyway, well, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end off now. We're at 2 hours, and we're kind of just rambling on about height now. So, everybody, thanks so much.
The most after darky Captain Logan show in a long time.
I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I certainly have. Went to a lot of places we don't usually go, but Steve Murphy, you can tell we're running out of things to say when we're discussing height. I don't know. I didn't feel out of things to say. It's just an odd topic, really. Anyway, is that true? OEW says start doing deadlifts. You'll get another inch or two. Can you make yourself grow more at 36 years old? Is that possible?
I don't know. I mean, it is a back exercise, so it might improve your posture and just make you...
Oh, and my posture is not great. So it's time now for the announcement. I think a lot of people have just stayed to find out what our big announcement is.
About this.
No, wouldn't that have been the worst?
If we didn't even say it. Hey, I'm going to send you this. You can show this. I just sent you something over Messenger.
Oh, okay. Let me pull that. Oh,
it has a visual. The announcement has a visual.
You put it on Facebook?
Yeah.
That's way better. Yeah. Thanks for doing it there and not Skype. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. That's a pain to try to get stuff off Skype. All right,
well,
here it is.
Well, not just that, but then everybody would see it before I officially showed it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Here it is, guys. The big announcement. Cap's having a daughter.
No, don't say that. That's not true. Would that be the... What do we? You know what though? That would be a thing to if we did. And Sarah and I actually have been discussing this very seriously the last few days, whether or not we're going to have another kid.
I'm having a kid.
Wouldn't it be? Yeah, but wouldn't it be crazy if I waited long enough to even announce whether I'm having a kid until I knew if it was a boy or a girl? My wife would be 3 months pregnant, and I'm finally going. So. Anyway, everybody give me just a minute.
I thought there was a special announcement. Oh, wait, weren't you supposed to be a special? Everyone's thought we were about to forget it because the way we were closing the show.
No, I was just about to mention it, but DJ forgot pretty clearly.
I forgot, even though I had it queued up in my Facebook to send over to him, and I completely... It's a long show, man. My mind is all over the place.
Okay, can I do this announcement now?
Sure.
In 3 weeks, Tuesday, 3 weeks from now, we shall begin on a every other week basis in bringing back for 13 shows
Captain DJ
Marvel Mania.
There it is!
There it is. Beginning insanely with Logan, of all things.
Oh, it's going to be crazy.
Isn't it? It's going to be absolutely nuts.
Man. There's a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. It was good. I told you it was worth it.
So guys. Yeah, I hope that's worth it. So and it will be live. Yep, the Manias when we do them from now on. So here's the trade-off: if we do a thing that we put the Mania title in, it will not be daily anymore. I just don't have the time. I'm just not doing that anymore. So it is only a Mania in the sense that we're doing several in close proximity to each other. It's not going to be weekly, because we're going to have some new movie reviews and things to do also on some live shows, so I want to make sure and leave some room for that. And there's only going to be 13. So this way, this show will go on a little while. It'll take us about half a year to do it. And we're going to do it, though, exactly the way that Eric and I did. So we don't plan on coming in and doing a whole lot of preparation. It's going to be real off the cuff, real loosey-goosey. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We're going to turn on most of them, big major Marvel movies, and chat over them, chat with you guys in the comments. You guys will all be able to watch with us this time, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. We're going to do them at the same time as we usually do live shows, 7 o'clock Central Time on, again, every other Tuesday starting on 3 weeks from, what is that, the 7th or the 8th? I forget now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's going to be Tuesday 3 weeks from now, whatever that is. Yep. But yeah, you guys are going to want to be there because these are pretty huge movies. I mean, Ragnarok, Logan, Spider-Verse, if we do that one.
Ragnarok.
I mean, Infinity War and Endgame are going to be insane.
Yeah.
And we'll be taking super chats. If you guys have questions live, you can ask us and kind of direct the conversation. These are going to be kind of led by you. We're not going to be super prepared like the other commentators, so we're going to kind of let you guys lead lead the pack on this.
We'll
one.
go
So it's
off
gonna be
the
fun, man.
rails
I'm pumped.
some. We'll do some fun, silly stuff like Eric and I did with the original Marvel Mania. This is going to be an addendum to that. We've talked for a long time about coming back and doing an addendum, and I'm glad that there's as many movies now
There's a fly on my face.
as there are. I don't know how many of these will do some of the crazy gimmicks that Eric and I did, because some of those we did because of movies that we were worried we wouldn't have a great deal to say talking over, and these are all going to be mostly heavy hitters. So I don't know how much of that we'll do, but we may do some fun, silly stuff. I don't plan on doing any of them blindfolded. Like we did Daredevil. I don't think there's anything that would really qualify for that. But we're not going to be in the same room, which changes the dynamic a little bit. But the streams have been holding pretty well. We've been doing a lot of commentaries together. I always said I didn't want to do Manias without a person in the other room, and then DJ and I have done all of Power Rangers together, so we broke that. So Mania is nothing like it used to be, but we're still calling it that. Not nothing, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I don't want to talk anybody out of watching it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I do want to say, a lot of people are asking what we're starting with and what movies we're doing. We are starting with Logan.
Yep.
We're doing 2017, 2018, and 2019, which is only 3 years, but it's 14 movies, which is insane.
I thought it was 13.
So we're doing...
was it 14 counting Spider-Verse? And we will go ahead and do Spider-Verse, even though Dan and I already did a commentary on that. I think just because DJ is a big Spider-Man fan, he probably wants to talk about that.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot.
Yes, September 8th is right.
14 movies, starting from Logan, going to Far From Home. Unless Black Widow I guess New Mutants will come out before we finish, probably.
That'll be another. That is likely to be the ender then. 15th. Yeah, because if we're doing this over a period of 4, 5, 6 months, that will definitely be out at that point.
And I don't know what the status is on Black Widow. I don't know if they have any date for that at all, but yeah, there's a ton of
yes, Draco. Of course, we're doing Venom. Yeah, so same thing as we did the first time around. It has to be with the exception of Spider-Verse, because that was theatrically released. So we're not doing direct-to-video animated things on this Mania, like we did with Batmania. We did that just to make that as many movies as we could, but there was enough stuff for Marvel we didn't need to do that. So this will be theatrically released and live action films based on Marvel properties, so not just MCU.
I think we could just say theatrically for this one, because I don't think there's any...
Yes, for this one we can, but I'm just saying that is the regulation for this, so if there was anything that was released, we would have to do it, but there's not.
Yeah, and let us know, maybe in this chat or in, just leave a comment on the channel or something if you guys think of any fun gimmicks to do, because we will try to do some of those. Like Cap said, we might not do as many as they did, but we might try to do some fun stuff. Keep it entertaining.
Yep. So anyway, that's the announcement. We're really excited about it. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we're finally going to do it and make that happen. So that'll be the big event for the latter part of the year.
We were talking about it for a long time, and then I just, I don't know why I did it. I just made the logo and sent it to you. I'm like, let's do it. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. Let's do it. I think it was because someone asked about Marvel Mania while I was gone last week, and I was watching. Me and my wife watched the show last week from the hospital. We were both. She was trying to focus on. She needed something to watch or listen to, and we couldn't watch anything because she was having in so much pain. And she was like, just play it out loud, because I was trying to watch it over in the corner not to bother her. But she was like, turned up. So we watched it together. And someone asked you about Marvel Mania, and you said no comment and just moved on, and I thought it was hilarious. So I'm like, okay, we got to do this now.
That's why I did it. Well, no, at that point, you and I had already decided we were going to do it soon. We just didn't know when the announcement was going to happen.
Okay, that's right. That's what it was.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be within the next few weeks at some point. I don't think we were still on the fence. Or at least that was where I thought you and I were on it. I was with you. I forced it to happen. I don't know.
No, I'm pumped about it, man. I've made the logo. I've made a video intro that we can use. I've made 5 or 6 of the thumbnails already for the movies. So
has DJ been really echoey this entire time? Because I just realized that I had my desktop audio slider on, and usually when I have that, you're echoey. Oh, no. So it may be that we have a 2-hour show where you're echoey and nobody told me about it, or if they did, I didn't see it.
Nobody said anything.
Okay. Well, hopefully I just turned it off right at the end of the show. I wonder if it made a difference.
Do I sound different, guys?
Man, oh, well. I would apologize. Somebody let me know if that happens again, because I have an easy fix for it. I just didn't realize that was on. I was looking, the scroll bar was down. Inside Baseball, nobody cares. I didn't see it.
Don't worry.
They said that wasn't even happening. I don't know how that's possible. That's amazing.
I've overcome the echo.
Somebody asked if Mutale, if there was any chance of a DC Mania. I guess the answer I'll give to that is yes. There is a chance. I don't know for sure that. Yeah. I don't know for sure that we'll do that. We wanted to do all Batman before, just because there's so many of them, and we thought that would be fun to do. But we have a lot of DC movies more recently that we don't have commentaries for, and doing the Mania thing just gets some of those knocked out. Like when we first did Mania, the idea was these are just kind of goofy, loosey-goosey things that at some point you'll get a proper commentary. And then a lot of those came out so well, I didn't feel the need to do another one. I just decided that... We're just not that professional in the first place, so they might as well count.
We're as good off the cuff as we are when we actually put in effort. So
it's just as good as it's gonna get, I think.
People were freaking out though. I think you guys think it was worth it.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, everyone's going crazy.
I'm glad people are stoked.
I would read their comments, but it's just like, whoa, nice, yes. So I'm not gonna read all.
I see a woohoo or two. Yeah, awesome.
Yay.
And yes, it will definitely be. Oh! There's so many of these.
Yeah,
wow,
so excited, man.
You guys are awesome. It's
gonna be huge.
Okay, cool.
It's gonna be really cool.
Well, DJ, strap in, because these are a lot of fun to do.
Oh, it's a commitment, dude. Oh, you don't have to tell me, man. The first thing I did on this freaking channel was Morphin Mania.
I know, but this is a horse of a different color, right? Like.
Well, this will be a lot more viewed, so.
That and there's just a lot more substance to talk about.
True. Someone did ask what the status of Morphin Mania was, or where we were earlier, and we are starting Turbo this week. So
yes,
that's where we got to get going on that. Hopefully, this doesn't. I don't know. We got a lot of balls in the air.
We right do. Now. I don't know how much time we're gonna have to shoot more. We were supposed to shoot more tonight. I don't have time now. So. DJ, we'll find an evening. As we had another nice turnout tonight and a lot of good questions.
Yeah,
and
it's a great show, guys.
Me taking too long on questions, but I'm not going to apologize because I had a lot to say, so wanted to give them their due.
I think it's worth it. I think they were great questions tonight. You guys did awesome.
Okay, well, Mutali, what are the odds of you liking Ragnarok, seeing it again? Okay, if I had to play the odds, if I was a betting man. I would put the odds at about 15 to 20%, which might even sound high to some people. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The things that really bother me about that movie, I don't see changing because they're like just factual choices that they made. You know what I mean? Like it's not just tonal stuff, but that is a lot of it. But I have only seen it one time. I never watched it again. I disliked it so much in the theater. I saw it the one time, and I don't even think I went back a second time for the spoiler cast. I think we saw it one time and talked about it. So that's why I put the odds as high as I am that I might enjoy it more a second. The thing is, as I've always said, I found that movie pretty entertaining in a lot of places, but I didn't think it worked. Is the thing, you know what I mean? So like, I didn't find it totally unwatchable. If I could ignore what the story was supposed to be, like it just didn't, for the story they were telling, it didn't take itself seriously the way I thought it should. And I'm not going to review it again here, but so there's a chance I'll enjoy it more, knowing now what I'm getting myself into.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to be there for you to have that experience. Don't think I'll have that experience. No, I didn't, because I didn't just dislike it for the story stuff. I disliked it for the enjoyment factor too. So I didn't enjoy it at all. So I don't know.
And of course, keep in mind, talking over it, it's going to be difficult not to just immediately go back to a lot of my points that are in my head. Like we won't be able to just sit there and watch because we're making a product at the same time.
Yeah, that would be boring. But at least we'll get people's perspectives as we're watching it. Like as a scene comes up, people can leave comments in the chat and be like, "This is what I like about this." And
I want to reiterate something important to mention about commentaries. A lot of the commentaries we make have a lot of review elements in them because I'm a very critical person, and what people come to the channel for is review. But they are not wholly reviews. Like, I kind of look down on the idea of reviewing a thing as you're watching it. So, like, if I've seen it already and I'm looking at it, like, I can throw out a lot of critical things that I remember from the last viewing that I had of it. And yes, I'm sort of having a viewing again, but no movie is meant to be talked over the entire time that you're watching it. So it's not a pure way to do a review. It's not really fair, you know what I mean? So it's more, as I've always said, like a podcast discussing the thing as you're looking at it. So if I'm doing a commentary on something I've never seen before, that turns into more of like a reaction video. And, there's obviously some elements of review because I'm giving first impressions, and those ideas could change later if I watched it more as it was intended to be seen. But it's more of an exercise in conversation than it is in review. So I think that's an important thing to note.
Yeah, this will be very interesting, honestly. I didn't even think about it. The first half of Mortal Mania was a lot different because those movies I watched a bunch. I used to watch superhero movies a lot more.
Yeah,
these ones, a lot of these I've only seen once.
Yeah. Most of them I've seen at least twice. Logan I've seen 3 or 4 times because I've shown it to people. I think...
like Venom, I've never gone back to Venom. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think Far From Home I've seen maybe 3 times. I guess we haven't done Homecoming yet either, have we?
I might have to start rewatching some of these.
Is Homecoming post Doctor Strange?
Homecoming was before you did.
Okay, we already did that. Okay.
No, you're right. Homecoming's 2017.
I think it's post Doctor Strange. Yeah.
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
More definitively.
Sweet. So we'll be doing both of those.
You've already done a great commentary on that with Dan, so I can probably just talk about my experience with that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I won't have anything to say that Dan didn't say. Probably.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing is some of these we already have commentaries for, but the idea of Mania is you do all of it. So we will do Venom again, and DJ's going to have to sit through Deadpool 2.
Which I like better than the first. So people keep saying that, but I like that one better than the first one.
Well, I just know that you don't like Deadpool as a character, so I wasn't sure if that whole commentary would just be you going, boo, I don't want to watch this character.
No, I'm not like that with it. But I will say I haven't seen Dark Phoenix at all yet, and we're still trying to decide if I should watch it beforehand or if that should.
I think you should do it blind. I think you should do that one blind. I think that'll be really fun. I think that will be a more enjoyable commentary if one of us hasn't seen that movie, and I've only seen it once, so I mean I'm not gonna remember a lot. It'll be crazy. Anyway, we have worn out our welcome. We should probably go ahead and get going. But everybody, thanks a lot for watching. I'm glad that folks are excited about that announcement. I certainly am. And like I said, it's going to be 3 weeks. We've got, we were going to do it in a couple weeks, but we're probably going to need to keep that spot open to talk about. I'm going to do new movie commentaries more on the live shows. Like I said, doing a lot more things live, and also just to free me up over the weekends to do family stuff and work on other projects. So since we're broadcasting live twice a week now, it seems fair to do reviews more in this format. So anyway, in a couple weeks, if I decide to go see New Mutants, which I'm probably going to do, honestly, we'll be reviewing that there. So, yeah. So that's why it's 3 weeks and not 2. All right. Well, thanks a lot for watching,
guys.
DJ, you're awesome. Thanks for everything. Sure appreciate you.
Sure, man.
Thanks for watching the live show while your kid was being born. I can't believe that in some strange way I was a part of that.
She wasn't born till the morning, but she was having some contractions, so that's listening to your voice. That's the soothing sounds of Captain
Okay, well, on that note, tell Grace I said hi. I'll see everybody later. Thanks so much for watching. I was Captain Logan. This was DJ Martinez. Later, everybody.
One in the end, and there's no use in trying to pretend. I'm telling you, everybody wants a friend. I'm telling you, it's so good to have a